We're live. Are we live? We are. Sup, everybody? This is Karak with ACG, and I'm here with Jonny and Reg and Silver and two spectacular guests, Del and Gaming Addict, who were nice enough to come on board to discuss games this week and discuss companies, how amazing video game companies are, how charitable they are, how noble they are. It's going to be amazing talking about all
No controversies ever.
No controversy, all the charity all these big companies do. And no, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, including Halo. Let's see, maybe a little Call of Duty, behind-the-scenes business stuff, possibly reviews, Psychonauts, games that are good, so certainly not, Aliens Fireteam Elite, but the good games we'll be talking about. And
Gamescom,
we'll be talking about that for sure. But the first thing I want to do is hand it over to these guys. We're going to start with Del. What have you been doing? What are you doing? And do you have anything coming up that you want to pimp?
God, what have I been doing? So after I left the Joe show back about a year ago now, I mean, you know about that whole thing. We talked about it and everything, right?
Yeah.
Yep. I've just been building towards starting a YouTube, which is going to be in the next 30 days. We were looking to get it done at the end of this month, but set building is a lot harder than I thought it would be. And the people that were working on stuff, the one thing is you always give contractors an extra month, but then apparently with COVID, you need 2 months.
Yeah. Oh, so, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're back about a month, but I'm excited. We're going to start doing the content close to yours, but not exactly identical. Because the way that I felt about YouTube is the way I felt about Twitch is I want to do everything. I don't ever want to be constricted to one thing.
Right.
And so it's going to be, we're starting off all over the place with specific segments to like keep people tethered down. But other than that, I want to do everything. So we're going to be doing IRL, game reviews, discussions. And the channel name is Control Alt Delrith, but it's not up yet. Or it's not, there's no videos posted yet. So.
Gotcha. Well, check that out. Good name. Yeah, it is actually. It's a very good name. I think that's awesome. Also, especially with YouTube and not being tied down, I think it makes sense because at some point, if you are, almost all of us chafe. If you're known for something, and I've talked about it multiple times, it's like if you're prepared to do just one thing and then that one day you want to do something different, it'll just devastate you. So it's best to do a little bit so that at least your audience understands that you might be jumping around a bit, you might be doing some stuff. And they don't always have to show up just for one thing. What about you, Gaming Addict?
Doing pretty good. Obviously I'm part of the Ironlords podcast. So anyone in the chat that doesn't know. That we've been seeing a lot of growth there, so I definitely want to appreciate that. Especially thank ACG because he came on and introduced us to his audience. It's got like a domino effect. Then they introduced to their friends, so I definitely appreciate the community's been good. I got my own channel. It's called Gaming Addict, and I'm actually going to start streaming a little bit more because I actually enjoy streaming. It's just like it's always been something like I guess when I first started streaming, it was a real hard mental block. But I guess since I've made so many videos throughout the years that mental block's gone now. So like it's easier for me to talk to the abyss of no one. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
But I definitely appreciate the invite, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. Anytime. Do you mean when you say talking into the golf or whatever, is that because you're saying somebody's not sitting right across from you kind of thing? Well, thank you, name banned again. You ping that notification this week, Karak? Did I ping that notification this week? I don't know what that means. Name banned again.
I guess on exactly. YouTube.
It should all have gone out correctly. Let's hope. Anyway, Addict, talking into the void, does that mean having no one sitting across from you?
It's not necessarily no one sitting across from you. It's like because I've always had the assumption that like when you stream, you kind of want to like narrate what's going on in your mind, and it's really hard to get because obviously like when you're streaming, it's different from a podcast. I can bounce off of ACG. I can bounce off of the rest of the panel, but when you're streaming and you're not playing with other people, you got to like master that. There's no one there to talk to me ever. So it's like I gotta like kind of like narrate what's going on in my mind and then interact with the chat when they are there.
I see. And Ironlords podcast is in here. Much respect to ACG for having my brother Lord Addict on. Thank you very much. Yeah, it has been nice to get everybody together and just sort of, come together from various different communities and talk about stuff. And I definitely feel a little bit more open because I'm not just doing one particular podcast, even though doing the Xbox podcast wasn't that bad, but it was like doing multiple ones, and then this one, which is general, and you have to put your brain in a different space, and now that ability to just jump in. Hustle and Motive says the notification did go out. Thank you very much for that. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, then plus, I've noticed, like, because I'm only on one podcast now while I do my own, but notice, like, the more you do, sometimes you have to say stuff over and over again. So, like, it can get very mentally draining because you're like, I don't want to say what I said 2 days ago. So I kind of want to reword it, but I don't want to reword it because I already said it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's one positive thing about me is because I'm so opinionated that I was never changing my opinion, which would have been worse. So I might have repeated my opinion, but I wasn't like, I love this game. No, I hate it. It was usually
no flip-flopping, yeah.
There was no flip-flopping, yeah. What about Jonny, Reg, and Silver? What have you guys been playing? What are you guys doing? Jonny first, since you've got the only technically official channel.
Yeah, that's true. So on the channel, I've been doing a lot of Final Fantasy 14, and off camera, I've been playing some Neo 1, because I beat Neo 2 this year, and I love the game, one of my favorite in the genre. Mm-hmm. So I said I'm going to go back to Neo 1, and it's brutal and rewarding and fantastic to play. It's a bit more hardcore than Neo 2 for me. Like when I play it, they respect the player a lot, and there are some big spikes in difficulty in some bosses, but I really enjoy it. Yeah.
Is that all you've been streaming then? Final Fantasy and then playing Neo on the side? Okay, gotcha. What about you, Reg? What are you playing?
Mostly been playing The Veil, which was an amazing game. Fully blind accessible, basically no visuals, or really no visuals. Audio-only adventure game with plenty of fighting still. Highly recommended to check it out if you're in the market for a little bit different games without the visuals. And apart from that, not really anything. That's the only game.
Reg, let me ask you, when you're playing that, right? Do you like close your eyes and you go full immersive?
Yeah, that's the way to do it for that game.
I think it would have been better though if you had bought a bandana. Like Matrix, like
bandana playthrough. Mm-hmm. Oh, that would be a great stream.
Oh, that would be.
And you stream that game and with the bandana. Amazing.
It also was pretty lengthy at 8.5 hours, so it's a pretty long game.
That reminds me of something I want to ask you guys about. Steam refunds. Somebody remind me about this later. What about you, Silver? What are you playing?
Not all that much, mostly because of work. But actually, AJ in the Discord mentioned buying Dragon's Dogma, and that talking about it with him actually got me back into playing it again for like the 6th playthrough or something. Mm-hmm. And it's just one of those games that you can play for forever. Like it doesn't really age the gameplay in it, for me anyway. Like it still is as fun now as it was when it released like nearly 10 years ago. Obviously it's not winning any graphical awards, but I mean some of those fights, like fighting the giant Hydra, fighting the dragons, they're still some of the best boss fights you can find in gaming. It's just it's amazing fun.
Yeah, Dragon's Dogma is awesome. Reading some of the super chats. Ironlords, much respect. Let's see. Here to respect Lord ACG and the crew. Thank you, Gaming Addict. Wandering Dutch says, good afternoon, evening all. Have a great show. Much love. ACG review for Psychonauts was on point. Yeah, Psychonauts is man, Psychonauts is a good damned game. So happy to see a platformer, an old style platformer like that, like up there in the list of like what I think will be some game of the year for some people. Somebody said that we looked like that it was 6 of the greatest YouTubers in squares looking like the Brady Bunch.
Oh man,
they deleted it. I don't know why. Brady Bunch. Maybe they got in trouble. Maybe YouTube doesn't like the term Brady Bunch.
Look in the direction.
Oh yeah, when somebody talks. Hey,
I'm a pretty hot.
Am I doing it right? No, I need to do this. Okay,
isn't the Brady Bunch the one with the theme that goes like "There's a knock on the door" or something?
No.
I don't even remember, man.
There's a story of a man named Brady.
There's a story of a man named
Brady. Oh right, yeah.
You don't want to hear me sing, so I stopped right there. Like, I'm not one of those guys who goes on Twitch and is like, hey, everybody, here is the infection of my voice. Real quick, though, I want to ask you guys something. Oh, go ahead. What?
ACG, the next Beyonce?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the single ladies. So I wanted to ask you guys, I don't know if you guys saw this, but a developer just retired yesterday. and he's a smaller developer, and he retired because he put a bunch of work into a game that released on Steam, but due to Steam's 2-hour refund period, the game was shorter than 2 hours. And so it got insanely good reviews, consistently positive reviews, all that kind of stuff. However, everybody returned it. And the discussion was sort of came up, was like, is there another way to, is there another way that Steam checks that stuff? Is it just 2 hours now for Steam?
2 hours.
That's the only requirement.
There has to be a check mark now for games are getting that experience. I mean, look at like Life is Strange. Those episodes are for sure less.
I don't think that's a matter of Steam. I think there's federal laws about refunds on digital purchases to where, as much as I'd want to make Steam a bad guy, I know in Europe you're entitled to a refund for much longer than in the US. So I don't know if that's a failure on Steam's part or
with a big asterisk in Europe. They can exclude it for digital items. They don't really have to do it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's a law that lets them has to make them at least a 2-hour thing. I don't remember off the top of my head though.
I mean, goddamn, man, it feels like it should be a percentage or something. Like,
one would think if you beat the game, you couldn't just refund it,
right? Or have an achievement that's like, if you get to this point and you move past it, you know that refund is no longer available.
And it sucks because it affects indies disproportionately, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Smaller games, you know, indies are gonna be smaller experiences, and you get a lot percentage-wise of the game in 2 hours, almost all.
Especially for like game jam games, like that are meant to be done in a day. Yeah.
There's got to be something there's got to be some fix. Tony Davidson, thank you very much for the super chat. He just says hello, gang. We all say hello back. Hopefully,
Tony.
as we move forward here today, I'm gonna have some. I do have at least one call in from a patron, but I just was informed that somebody else had left us another message, so I'll try to grab that. And we will play those. If people are wondering why we're not doing that as much today, it's just because we have so many guests. We just decided it doesn't make a lot of sense. I thought I recognized Del from somewhere. I dig your quickfire reviews on AJS2. Keep it up.
They were rapid fire reviews, and Alex is doing them now. Yeah, like I said, I left about a year ago, and he's been taking over.
Does Alex ever have any positives to say about anything, though?
No, dude, he's critical. He's a critical guy.
That's what I heard.
He does not like. He is very critical about everything. Yeah,
that's funny.
That's not necessarily bad because he's a rare breed these days.
Yeah. You'll get people who sort of meander back to like get away from their position if it's too hard because people are coming at them, and I'm just like, who gives a fuck? I don't care. I thought I recognized Del from somewhere. Oh, another Wandering Dutch said the same thing. And then Lord Sovereign, Ironlords, salute to my bros, Lord Addict and ACG, and to the entire amazing panel. Thank you very much. Like I said, go check out their podcast. It is amazing. Great community. In fact, one of the most welcoming communities I've seen for a long time. Let's talk about... What do we want to talk about first? Do we want to talk about Halo?
Should we do Gamescom? Because that was kind of a big
Gamescom
hubbub
first. Yeah, because that'll mend into everything else. So
exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, man. I didn't watch a lot of Gamescom. So
me neither.
I don't want to brag, but I was an official co-streamer of Gamescom.
Oh God, here we go.
I
Did
signed a
Jeff
contract
email you?
and everything. All right, so you know.
Okay, go ahead, Del. What were your highlights of Gamescom? How about that? What were your highlights?
I only watched opening night.
Oh my!
Wow.
He's the official co-streamer. Watches one night.
I was one of them. All right, and I was like, "Can I just watch opening night?" And they were like, "Yeah." And then my power went out halfway through it. So.
Sure, it did.
But
blame the weather. Yeah,
that was funny. He didn't expect ACG to put him in the hot seat.
Oh no, the one got pulled out.
It was honestly like seeing a lot of the release dates was the nicest thing about it.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, seeing a lot of release dates was probably the nicest thing. Finding out about the delays was another nice thing. Finding out about Horizon and stuff like that being, pushed back. But I mean, overall, it was a lot better than I thought it would be, given the remoteness of it this year for Gamescom. And it was very short. Like opening night was short, but it was to the point, which I liked. There wasn't a lot of fluff, and honestly, that's the way to do it. And I think a lot of the big companies have learned from how Sony does their state of plays or whatever. They're hey, let's just game, back to back. And I totally appreciated the condensed format this time around instead of like the 6-hour stream.
Oh,
of let's get guests on,
with
let's do this,
fillers.
let's do that. Yep.
Yeah, the only big criticism I give is like Microsoft for showing you how to use a catapult for like 10 damn minutes. Like, I was like, man, like, was that really?
So here was my tweet. I said, AA developers are like, oh my God, it's a catapult. AAA developers are like, let's fucking buy Hawks for research. That's the difference. That level of money. It's like, why are we watching this? If that was a AA research, they'd be happy to just be there and take some measurements and then they jet out. Microsoft is like, let's get the red,
let's shoot it.
The Blackmagic red cameras that, Linus is like, they're not good enough for me. $10,000.
Yeah.
Give them out. And Microsoft's there filming and you're like, dude, seriously? And admittedly, I didn't have an issue with it because I like history and I was actually interested in smashing shit. But at the same time, as a game fan, I just knew what the chat would look like. There was no way to not have the chat look like that because there's 4 or 5 different levels of gamer out there. And that served one level of gamer in a niche so fucking small that there's like Dell and I are probably the only 2 who were like, hey, that's pretty cool.
Trevor's Everybody else sick.
Like, they are sick. But most people are like, what the fuck are we watching?
Right.
Yeah, no, there's something to be said about pacing. And whoever was in charge of pacing really needed to go over the content and be like, this just kind of hits the wall. This needs to be end of show stupidity, like not midway. But hey, Saints Row hype.
It's like there's like 4 or 5 people that rock paper scissors to who's going to do the presentations, and it's like the one that did E3. That's the good one that won it. But it's just like, I understand like there is a place for that, but I feel like the core of your audience, they don't care about that. So like, it's like one of those things that happen at E3. Like, let that be at the like, the Gamescom live stream for that game, where they explain and break everything down.
You lose most of your people with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think you do. Silver Reg, you guys watch anything for Gamescom at all?
Yeah, the opening night and whatever was the day after. I forgot.
But nothing that caught your attention?
No, the biggest one for me, the most exciting one for me was seeing more of Forza Horizon because I'm really looking forward to that game.
And it's looking very good.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
it is. It's looking fantastic.
The hilarious thing about Forza, guys, is it's easy to think it's the old Forza because the old Forza looks so good. So, I mean, I know that people are they want more and more graphics, and it's like, dude, it's already doing shit that's just nuts. Like, with that many people and the stable image they had, there was like no pop in at certain points. They were driving, I was like, oh my God, like we're finally there. Because I played Sega Saturn Daytona, and that shit would draw in at your nose. It would be like, boom, here's a mountain, and you could fuck up actual corners because of it. And now we're looking at this thing where the entire desert is in front of you, and it's just. Oh, it's so good. What about
they're
you?
using the same technology. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. What were you going to say?
They're using the same technology as Flight Simulator, aren't they, for the real-time, real-world places?
They're using real-world places. I don't know if it's a Sobo's. I know that is Fable's engine, though. So Forza Horizon will be the engine, at least the same playground engine as Fable. Yeah, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting because that game looks awesome,
it does,
whether you're standing still or that'd be awesome on a horse on that. I was going to ask Silver, did you watch any of this? Did you capture any of the Gamescom, or were you just like, man?
It's not really that I was mad. It's just that there was so much work, and then there were a lot of stuff going on in the world. That's what took my attention more than Gamescom did as a priority. So I didn't really get to follow it much.
Yeah, it was a rough one. Jonny, anything from you for Gamescom?
Yeah, actually, I have several things that were highlights for me, but like the top 3, I guess, to keep it short, would be Marvel Midnight Suns.
Oh, that's
right. They had an announcement trailer for that. I'm pretty excited for a game like that. I don't know about you guys.
Very. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It turned for me when I realized it was not a cell phone game, which I thought it would be for most of the trailer.
The moment I saw it,
the moment you see it, you can think it's a Netmarble. Netmarble is like their jam, and it looks
like,
at first.
For sure, cell phone game, and then they're like, nope, consoles. Okay.
I can see that thought. What else, Johnny?
And then Saints Row had an interesting trailer, and it got kind of mixed reception. Some people hated it, some people liked it. I thought it was interesting. It had a motor rider or a motorbike rider with a kitty helmet, right? So they won me over, at least the cat parent over here. But it looked interesting. I don't know. I was kind of curious to hear, like, from you guys, whom I know most of you have played more of those games than I have. Like, if you've seen any of the footage, like, what was your impression of all that?
Dude, I mean, Saints Row was known, freckle bitches and purple dildos, and they're like, they stated that they were going to pull it back, and they were going to pull back the humor, and I get some humor, but what I'm nervous about is that everybody's going into this, so you can't please everybody, and you can't be perfectly politically correct to everybody. I certainly do 100% realize you have to be, and should be, for the most part, but that's not what Saints Row is even about. And so I don't know, they might fall into the trap that we saw with GTA 4. And I admit, a lot of people like GTA 4. I enjoyed it, but that was a dour motherfucking game. That was like dour.
Yeah,
that's why
I liked it. Yeah.
I know you liked it, and I liked it because it was different. But I certainly didn't like it as a GTA title. Does that make sense? I liked it as its own thing.
Yes.
I mean,
a lot of people felt that way, I think.
Go ahead, sorry.
The thing about Saints Row is they already screwed up their franchise with Agents of Mayhem, which was an awful game.
That game was awful, man.
And to talk about stuff that was behind the scenes with Saints Row, they showed the trailer, but there's so much better stuff they should have shown with like gameplay and things that the game, like, everybody knows about. Like, well, maybe a lot of people don't, is there's empire building and a lot of really cool stuff in the Saints Row that's coming out, and they showed none of that.
Right.
All they did was show that they've toned the game back, which honestly, like, I play Saints Row for the insanity. I played for Johnny Gat and the wacky stuff, like, watching ninjas fighting pirates and all this crazy stuff with, like, running around as a hot dog and chainsawing people.
Yep,
like,
for sure.
You do that sort of stuff. And so if they're trying to tone it back and do like a new Kids on the Block, like tropey nerdy kid, like serious story that's like way more, and I hate to say it, but PC than Saints Row used to be, I think it's going to kill the franchise. I don't think it's going to work. Because, you can have good gameplay and stuff, but at the end of the day, like you said, if you're not beating someone to death with a dildo bat, it's not Saints Row. Like, that's just the way it is, right?
When that's your brand,
that's
beating
your brand.
people
Freckle
with a
bitches.
dildo, that's your brand.
My hope, though, is that you can leave that sexualness, I think, and get away with it.
Yep.
There were other things that people were saying were racial in that game, and there certainly were, but they were purposely parodied. There was
parodies,
cynicism and parodies. But remembering this also, that when you look at what happened with GTA, they were asked, why is GTA 6 not like, this was a couple years ago, but why is it not faster on the burner? And Rockstar themselves were like, it's hard to parody what is already so nuts. How do you pretend that it's like above what's going on right now? Like, how do you pretend? Because then you're getting into what Saints Row did. Space and fucking hell. Got out of hell. That's the only step you have. Like, we are that close to reality just breaking and being like...
And superheroes,
Great expansion, though. Great expansion.
I wasn't a fan of that one. I love the idea. You're talking about Gat Out of Hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea, but for some reason, I just felt it was rough. I played it on the PS4, I think. I probably should have done PC on that one.
They were self-aware, though, because at the end of Get Out of Hell, spoilers, anybody want to cover, he says to reboot the universe, which is what they're doing.
That's what they're doing. That was the one part I liked about that, was it was like, this is the
it connects
end.
Back.
I mean, what do you do after you've gone to hell? What a comic books have
you go to
all the
heaven.
time, right? You go to hell, and then you go to heaven, and then you go back to hell or whatever. But yeah, so it's going to be awesome. I want to see it. I don't know if it'll go up against GTA, because GTA feels a long ways out, which could be good for them, Saints Row guys.
Oh, for sure.
But I think Saints Row are they not? We talked about this last week, and I apologize, I already forgot. Isn't Saints Row owned by Embracer Group?
I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like...
Because Embracer Group's made it very clear they're not spending a lot of money on games. And that makes me nervous, because and I've liked some of their games, but you can definitely tell it's not the big budget. What were you going to say, Addict?
I was going to say, I feel like a lot more people gravitated towards that franchise when it got goofy, because if they wanted the real serious stuff, they would just go play GTA. And like I get it. If they want to make that work, they're gonna have to innovate that genre like crazy, like such craziness that like that Rockstar's looking like, okay, we need to take that part right there. We need that in our game. Like
right. No, that's exactly it. And which I think they must have done with 5. They had to have looked at Saints Row and been like, whoa, 4 wasn't bad. Nico was a cool character. But they had, deep down inside, when like 2 comics and one goes family and the other is still like edgy, and the family guy's over there in the corner going like, I'm going to Spotify, Joe Rogan. But you know what I mean? Where he's like looking over going like, I want a piece of that. And so they bust back. That's my hope for GTA. Thank you guys for the super chats. I haven't read all of them. I apologize. I'll get to it. My last 5, either buy a sack of potatoes or support ACG. Guess I'll go hungry, Hans Peter says. Good for you. As somebody who ate potatoes
is
for like
owned by
a year,
Embracer Group.
I can tell you right now, you just spent your money better. What were you saying, so?
Just Volition is indeed owned by the Embracer Group.
We'll have to see. That makes me a tiny bit nervous.
Going what you said though, I mean, the first 15 minutes of Saints Row 4 is so wildly crazy and was such a fantastic intro.
Yeah.
I don't think they could top it, like with going back to like toning it down 100%, because like I get what they're trying to do and they're trying to make the game more serious. But dude, if you're not the president of the United States with a giant anti-aircraft gun shooting aircraft or UFOs down on your front lawn, that's not Saints Row. So I'm hoping they can make it work. Yeah.
Or driving around in a car with a tiger.
Dude, no. My favorite, and a step above in producing that blew me away, is when the zombie voice will sing songs when the radio's on. If you choose the zombie voice for your character, and songs come up like, and he'll be like, baby one more time, and he'll be like, "Rrr, rrr, 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 rrr," and I was like, that is fucking brilliant. That is fucking brilliant.
Amazing.
He never says a word you can understand. He just sings like a zombie. Like most companies wouldn't have they wouldn't have thought about that.
The effort.
It has the effort, and it has those same lines, the same thought processes. So, anybody in chat, what are your thoughts on these? It sounds like overall most people here are not a fan of the idea of the reboot being softer, at least from what I can tell. I am okay with it. I just want to see what their idea is and what they're sort of relating to in this, because some things do change over time and sound. I mean, dude, I watch Miami Vice. Some shit they say in Miami Vice, the old TV show, I'm like, damn. You said that out loud. That's horrendously, like, that's even, and I don't get offended. And I'm like, damn, I can't believe they just. So there's some things, I just don't remember a lot of Saints Row being that. I remember it being more sexual than anything. But
I mean,
it was really sexual.
I guess what I struggle to understand is, if you're going to do this, why make it Saints Row then?
Exactly. No, that's exactly the point, right? If you're going to do it, just be like, pedal down.
But I mean, I think that may partially be because sort of Agents of Mayhem did blow up in their face. So maybe they are going back to like the branding of Saints Row, which is sort of more secure and more familiar to people. So maybe that's it. That's the crutch they're sort of leaning on. But I mean, if that were the crutch, then the crutch would also be the ridiculousness of Saints Row, right? Not just the name, but everything that name sort of entails.
I think when it comes to this move, like I'm going to treat it just like I did the Assassin's Creed. Like, look, I didn't agree with that, like the drastic change in them. But to me, it's like if they did something behind closed doors and they changed it to that degree, the franchise was at risk and they had to do something or it wouldn't be around. So I just got to assume it's like, if they wouldn't have did this soft reboot, we probably wouldn't get a Saint Row. So it's better to have something that they might succeed with than have nothing at all.
I mean, yes and no, because it's nice to get something, but sometimes it's also just nice to let a franchise lie when it's sort of served run its course.
You only have so much goodwill with your player
keeping
base.
it alive for keeping it alive.
And you only get the one big disappointment, and then you lose all the goodwill, right? So if you make this move,
I'm with Addict,
it's
where
a
like
flop.
I would never say I don't want a game, but I do worry more about this one than normal. Because I
Right.
am a Saints Row fan. Like, you have a little bit of that investment. Let's speak about investment or the lack thereof in Aliens Fireteam Elite. So, I get it. It's a polarizing game. Some people love the game, some people don't.
Yep.
But what I want to do, I know Dell played it. I don't know if any of you guys did. If you did, feel free.
I have 100 hours in it now.
There's not 100 hours. You couldn't even leave it idling for 100 hours. Dell, what? Doing what?
I wanted to see how far it went.
It goes for 4 fucking levels, Dell. There's nothing past that.
Okay, well, technically there's 12. But I wanted to see all the stuff. It's not my fault. I wanted to get everything.
I'm removing my hatred. Did you like it? What did you like? What did you dislike?
It was super average, and I could tell that they ran out of money. Like, there's so many systems in the game that just stop. And
yeah, true.
There's just, I see what you were doing, and then you were like, crap, we're out of money. And it's just tragic because you could see that if they had like another year and like more money, it would be like a super cool Division competitor type of thing. Yep. But like they just ran out of money, and like the reward system shows it, their progression system shows it. And like I could tell they were trying to go for like a looter shooter Destiny like gear system, and then they had to cut it all because they just couldn't finish it in time. So it's a tragedy is what it is, because it's like there and it could have been there if they just had a year more.
And it's Aliens, which is one of my favorite IPs, and that should be whoever didn't give them that money deserves the ire. Like, I would never say the developer does. That makes no sense. They did what they did. What I mean is, I don't hate anybody, and I don't. It's just like that's the game we got. But imagine getting the money to do the IP, Disney, and we know Aliens is. We do know Disney is hard to work with. That's widely known across the industry. If you're doing you have to meet their criteria. But their criteria felt like you have to take all the stories from the movies, cut them up to fake a plot. You can't spread out of that plot at all, which then, if you're familiar with the IP, isn't why you go into. I mean, Alien Isolation didn't do that, which is so well, it did. It had the DLC that was, what's her name? That was Sigourney Weaver, right? Didn't it have the DLC?
Yeah, Ripley. Alien? You played as Ripley,
Yeah, you played as Ripley.
But I mean, you were. It was still tied to Ripley, though, right? You were Ripley's daughter.
You were Ripley's daughter or niece in that one, for sure.
Daughter.
Yeah.
I do like when they make games in a universe, but they try to experiment though. Like, because I feel like the Alien franchise, like, I didn't grow up too much with that franchise. I've seen them because I'm a huge movie buff, but I do feel like when it comes to like games, like they need to start being real picky who makes these Alien games, because I'm concerned it's just going to get to the point where it's like we have Alien Isolation and then we have everything else. Like, and the concept of Aliens is good, and that's why I would love for them to take that franchise more seriously.
Kidsman says Sup ACG and Lord Addict. Saints Row remake is more Gen Z goofy foolery. Okay, that makes sense. What were you going to say, Silver?
We do also have the good old Aliens versus Predator games, like the Rebellion '99 one, the Monolith Aliens versus Predator 2, and then the 2010 Aliens versus Predator reboot by Rebellion, which was okay to good, I would say. And worth playing.
Charles says Psychonauts 2 is absurdly entertaining, my game of the year to date. Glad to see it, man. Game is
for sure
unbelievable. We'll talk about it in a second. But so with Aliens, man, I don't know, all these IPs, ignoring Aliens just for a second, because I didn't hate it. I just felt that it wasn't, there was no way I was going to play that again. Like, everything.
It was a sad game. Sad that it went that way.
Sad that it went that way. But when you look at all these IPs, man, I mean, other than Marvel, and they fucked up Avengers, but it sounds like maybe with this Firaxis game. How do you pronounce their name?
Firaxis. It's Firaxis, yeah.
Firaxis. That might be good, but it seems like IPs, man, I don't know. Like, you would think that they would know that gamers are smarter now about the cash in and stuff. Like, at some point. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask you something, because looking at that game, it almost feels like you could replace the aliens with zombies or whatever enemy, and it kind of would play the same. So for you guys that have played, a ton of it, is there anything unique, let's say, they kind of have as an identity that aliens can do that like others can't, that kind of makes it a bit unique?
I haven't played it.
Never played a zombie game where people can get like impregnated and then have aliens burst out of their
pretty
chest.
unique. Yeah.
I would say World War Z shows like how much you can do in a game with this. Even though some people didn't like World War Z, the content was there, and there was a ton.
Yeah.
They also didn't have a bunch of caveats about the AI. Like in this game, it's like, don't use AI above this level. And that already makes you go, well, what if I've only got 2 friends? What, like,
Bingo.
Like, and then you start having all these difficulties, which again, beside the point. But I would say with this game, no, there isn't. It is just, and that's all they could offer because it's probably Disney. Disney probably said you can't. They did put some unique aliens in there, like this Tyrannosaurus Rex looking. Well, he's not Tyrannosaurus Rex looking, but he's got a big bell in the back. It's not the drone; it's the other one with that's
Charger.
White. Yeah, those guys were really cool. But then I started realizing the difficulty is just bullet soak at some point, and you're like, okay, seriously, and they'd be on fire and still be running around doing stuff, and they weren't reacting to shots. So that's hard to do with anything. Zombies are easy because you can pretend that they don't feel pain. That they're not, but even in Aliens, when like one loses an arm, they'll go like, and they'll make their little.
They flail and wreathe. They fall on the ground and flail. Yeah.
Yeah. So but I will tell you this, man. If there is a game with an ending that will crush your ball sack repeatedly, it's Alien Fireteam. I can't believe the ending happens the way it happens. I was just like, that can't possibly be what's happening. There's no chance this game is ending on this note, and it's like
in a cool way, like surprising. Oh no!
Do you know what I'm talking about, Del?
Yeah.
I got it wrong. It's an anticlimactic ending.
Oh yeah, it's edging to
the
point of being like blue balls. You're just like, wait, what? This is impossible. It's not impossible. And I was so like confused that I went back thinking I had to do higher difficulties. I was like, there's no way. And then I did the higher difficulty and the same thing happened. I'm like, oh no, really? But it could be DLC. It could be DLC of a story.
Sounds a lot like Colonial Marines, frankly.
Colonial Marines didn't work day one, so I don't know. I couldn't even play that fucking thing. That thing was a disaster. But long story short, that came out, but at the same time, Psychonauts did. Who's played that but me?
I've played a bit of it.
I haven't played it yet.
All right, we'll skip it. I'll just say one of the most confident, best platformers I've ever played in my life.
I really want to play it. Yeah,
that was a game where I was by myself, oh my god, this is fucking amazing. And then I would go and get a pop, and I would come back and I would play a little bit and be like, it's. I don't think another game will be made like that. You guys have seen it where sometimes a movie will get delayed and it comes out better. Like a lot of times you expect it to come out, but something happens and like it's everything the way it should. That's Psychonauts.
A very clear labor of love.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Oh, it feels so good.
Because I know that the bosses and stuff, Microsoft let them put those in there.
Yeah.
So did that actually like really attribute to the game? Like, do you think it would have been a different game without those bosses?
The bosses are awesome. So, like, I don't want to spoil it. I'll just say that the boss design is like, what the fuck? So, understanding everything psychological, that's your first bet that it's not going to be a dude breathing fire normally. I'll just say that. And the first boss you meet is talking the entire time and going through their life, and you're just like, this is fucking heady. It's heady if you care. If you don't care, it's awesome. If you do care, it's very, like... there's something about it that's emotive, and you're hearing this person talk, you know it's their id, I guess would be the easiest way to describe it. It's the worst parts of them, and you're just like, this is right. Or when the sensor comes out and he's got the big stamp to stamp your life away. It's so dumb because you look at it and you're like, it's a pretty simple design, but it works, and it fits with every single thing in that game fits with something else. Like every single thought, every skill you get is almost less about combat, where I would say Ratchet and Clank, every skill you get is usually about combat. It's exactly the opposite here, where every skill can be used in combat, but it's usually finding some new place. And you don't go to a lot of places where you can't. There was one thing that I saw and I was like, oh, I bet you I can't go there because I don't have that skill. Where I felt Ratchet had a lot of those. And this one has less. There was one or two where I was like, I don't have, and then I got it. And after that point, I would usually get it. And those things I was seeing like organically in the game and going, I can now do this. I can now do that. Yeah, man. It is
Yeah.
magic fucking cool. Like, it is,
Yeah, I think-
it is so good.
I think the greatest thing about it, because I haven't played it yet, is just seeing like the underdog win. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
always, like, you know, Psychonauts 2, we'll see how it does, and to see it coming out and be like, okay, it's good.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
And they
Yeah,
got
I mean,
such a
we can
unique.
just
Sorry, go on.
and we can just hope the sales keep up with the good publicity.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's out on everything, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully, if there's any chance of a game doing well, it would be that and the fact that it's out on everything. And it's Game Pass, right? It's everything and Game
it's
Pass.
doing well. Yeah, it
Wow.
is doing well.
Yeah,
A
so
lot of big people picked it up and said they loved it. So
yeah. It's nice to feel that, because you can't talk to anybody when you're reviewing. I mean, there's the occasional time where I'll talk, like somebody will DM and be like, I'm having a problem with this command or something in a game, you know, but you don't really sit and talk about a game prior because you're not allowed to. And so you don't
Yeah.
know if somebody's going to like it. And so with that one, I was playing it. I was like, man, if people don't, I just need to put my card, my review card away. Like, if I think this is amazing and everybody
And
else
people
doesn't.
hate it.
Yeah. Psychonauts 2 is one of the best games of all time. Lucius says, thank you for the super chat. So what do we got for topics, Johnny?
Well, I was just gonna say right there, just to wrap up the topic, that it reminds me of, who's the guy that does Nightmare Before Christmas? That
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton.
Burton.
Yep.
That kind of style. It's almost like playing a game in that visual style, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it's definitely that.
Also, we got some dates from the show, like Horizon Forbidden West, February 18,
Can't wait.
2022. Lego Star Wars Skywalker, spring 2022. And then a couple others. Outlast Trials, which is the next Outlast. We didn't get a date for that one, but they showed a trailer. And then they also showed that dragon riding multiplayer game called Century, Age of Ashes.
Yeah, Age of Ashes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For-
That one
for
looks
November
pretty sweet.
18th.
So, looks pretty
It
sweet.
looks
the very
cool.
least interesting.
It looks fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I don't know about you guys, like sometimes in our Discord we'll get together and play some of these. Galactic Rock, we play, or what is it called? The
Deep Rock Galactic.
Yeah,
Great
Deep Rock
game.
Galactic.
Yeah.
But it's hard to go back to them because there's so many of them. That's the only thing I wonder about the Dragon game. Any of these games that pop up that are like that, I'm always getting nervous that they're, sort of going to come and go because there's just so much stuff now. Look at September.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, especially because games have larger lifespans now than ever before, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned Deep Rock Galactic. That game came out released
17.
in early access, I think 2 years ago.
Yep.
I think
18.
that was when it came out of early access. But I think it came into early access in 2017.
Yep.
So that game's already been running for like 4 or 5 years now. And it's going to be running for years to come as well as the developers continue to support it.
Yeah. And there's only enough time for you to play one game in that time frame. So,
especially since games are trying to eat all your time now on purpose.
yeah.
There's something to be said about everybody trying to get engagement metrics and padding things out with chores and stuff you have to do.
Battle passes,
It
unlocks
sucks. It sucks.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We'll just dive into it then. Halo.
oh
boy.
uh,
There really isn't a lot positive, is there?
No.
Because it's
It's getting less. It's getting hard. It feels like every day I wake up, there's another thing that that's harming my desire.
Yeah.
now it's the progression system.
Yeah. Did you guys see
That's
that?
a big one. That's the
So
only
that-
one that happened that I was
I guess I
like,
should
no,
say it to the
don't
people
like that.
listening. So they announced that the progression system for now, but then that person went and sort of seemed to indicate it was forever, but there isn't a progression system built into just playing the game. You do have to complete those challenges to get any experience. And I know that some people, he said, oh, so if you kill this guy, and I'm like, well, casual may not kill anybody for a while. Like, we don't know what it is. We'll have to, but it's just one more little add-on, right? One more little thing that it ruins my confidence or pulls
I
it
think
back
that's
going to
get changed before the game launches.
Oh, absolutely. I
Interesting.
mean, any
Oh,
system
okay.
anything that super restricts the average person's play style, it's just going to kill a game. Like if it's like, oh, I can't progress just having fun doing my own thing. I have to do these stupid challenges that like are more catered towards Twitch streamer esports stuff than actual gameplay fun. Then it's just going to destroy the game. And I don't think that they're going to be able to keep a system in like that, because whether or not they like it, Halo is 99% casual players. And at the end of the day, like, you can't shove systems like that in a game that's for casual players that just want to sit on the couch and play with their friends and expect it to be okay. Like, it's just not going to work.
The thing about me is it's just like, whoever decided that was even a remotely good idea, I just, as much as I hate to say it, man, it's like, take that dude off the team. It's just like, because
the thing is, no, sorry, continue.
Oh, I was just say, like, I in no way, shape, or form, because like all the co-op thing, I was like, I care, but I don't care. You know, the Forge, I care, but I don't care.
That's so frustrating.
But then when they hit me with the you have to do challenges to progress to the multiplayer, I was like, all right, now I care. Like, what's going on? Like,
it's like when everybody else's life is going to shit, you're like, that's on you. And then when they impact you,
that one affects me.
Humanity, where's my freedom? Where's my freedom?
It's like, all right, guys, I'm picking up the pitchfork. Leave me alone. Like,
I mean, they just need to realize, like, even in Call of Duty, the average KDA is like 0.65. Like, the idea of someone getting kills and stuff, it's such a foreign concept. The average is like 0.65 KDA. So for them to be like, oh, you got to get 10 kills in a match, it's like, you're alienating so many people by doing that. It's unreal.
My hope is there's a lot of miscommunication, and it can't be that.
I have a feeling that's getting changed. 100% that's getting changed.
It's gotta be, man. We were talking about this prior. Go ahead.
That's actually one of the few things I appreciate about achievement systems, is that they add some perspective for me in like in showing percentages of like what percentage of gamers actually, like when they boot up the game, actually go through like the prologue. Well, what percentage of gamers actually reach like the halfway point? What percentage of gamers actually complete the game? What percentage of players who boot up the game actually complete the game on the hardest difficulty setting? And often with the hardest difficulty setting, it's like 1.5%.
I think
if that. And that is sort of that shows you how much of a bubble people can sometimes be in if they think that that's like the norm or something.
I think if there's any kind of miscommunication, maybe it's like the person who wrote it like meant like, you know, certain cosmetics you have to do certain challenges for, and like somewhere down the domino effect, like it got messed up and like, I don't think this is a miscommunication. I'm just grasping for any straw on my way down this pit. Like, I don't want to fall. I don't, but I'm falling very fast, and I'm looking for anything to help me from falling. Like,
yeah,
but I mean,
go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna ask if that's like a miscommunication, and that the design is clearly different from that, like needing the objectives to progress in experience and all that. If that was a miscommunication, wouldn't they have come forward and said, no, guys, that's not it, right? You can still level normally.
You would think so, but he actually doubled down. It sounded like he stated very clearly, he's like, it won't be there at launch. This is what we'd be doing. So I don't know. What Addict's sort of hoping is that that's still wrong, which is that's your stages of grief. Now he's at the grief where
I'm definitely on my stages of grief.
So am I.
Because I'm bargaining right now. Yeah,
I love Halo.
I'm not even bargaining, man. I'm just going through them so quick.
What I was saying was, Reg and I, prior to this, we're talking about also like co-op. So, you know, I was told co-op wasn't going to be so co-op at all online, it's not there. It's not there for co-op. And people are like, I've never heard of co-op Halo. And here's the thing, that is woefully ignorant to a point to where I'm like, all right, we're done, because it's in your fucking menu. Like, at that point, I can't talk to you. We're done. Like, I get that you want to negate somebody else's conversation. That happens. But that was just stupid to say. But you do get that a lot. And you get people saying, Forge, I think, is, depending on how good it is, Forge could be like Dreams, where people, Dreams isn't even that supported by Sony, but it's certainly supported by people making stuff in Dreams.
Actually, I'm kind of thinking that Forge being delayed, it might be just as big of a deal, if not more big of a deal,
That's
than co-op getting delayed.
So co-op's huge to me, but I do feel that Forge is what excites a gamer. A gamer who wants to sit with a game forever is what Forge does. It's just something different, and it sucks.
Since Forge is delayed, they better have at least 15 maps at launch, like at least, because
I never even.
It's like if you're not giving people enough, like I don't want like a Titanfall scenario where you already played all the maps the first night you played. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I have a feeling it's gonna be like that for some reason. It's just like every time I'm like that, I did the multiplayer. I'm like, yes, man, we can start to hype this. We on that hype train. Get about 10 miles down the road, that shit derails. Like,
I think the best way to summarize it is I'm tired of games selling me a full product that I don't get for several years. And like with a company like Microsoft and like all this money behind this game, this Halo game, it is absolutely fucking unacceptable for them to sit there and make billions of dollars a year and then say, oh, we can't finish this, we don't have the resources, when it's your flagship game for a product you spent like hundreds of millions developing. You're not going to make sure it's a good product at launch. And it's like something like co-op's like Halo 1 had co-op at launch.
It's such a big part of it.
Yeah, you're going to tell me right now that you as a company with all of this money and these big backers and these publishers don't have the ability to finish your game before you launch. And it's just about quarterly sales and making investors happy and all this bullshit nowadays. And it's just like, I'm personally just not going to buy Halo because I'm not going to buy products anymore that I have to wait 2 years to get the full experience of. It's just not. It's not worth it's a disrespect to my time as a player. Why should I get like something that's only $20 worth of content and then have to wait 2 years and be told, don't worry, it's coming? Because the same thing happened with like a couple of other games recently, and I'm just over it. It's just not good for the consumer.
I agree with you. I think that when it comes to games like that, the only way it's acceptable if it's got that preview program right before it. And it's just like, look, and Microsoft ain't willing to do that shit. You know what I'm saying? They ain't willing to put Halo in the preview program. And it's just like, and to me, you guys, like, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking this, but it's like, fam, you already delayed this out of the Xbox Series X launch title. What is the difference now? Like, you already took the giant arrow to the knee. You can delay this game. You might get a little bit of bad backlash, but you delayed it when it was on the back of every damn Series Xbox. Why can't you just delay it one more time? Like,
at this point, it really comes down to like, you've already taken the PR hit. What's worth releasing a Halo with 1/3 of the stuff and taking the hit from the fans, or delaying it an extra 7 months and actually getting what you said out with it? It's like, you know, sure, I'd be disappointed in a delay, but if you give me 6 to 7 months longer and come out with Forge and co-op at launch, like, hell yeah, I'll wait that 7 months 100% of the time. Because you know, I'd rather that, and then instead of them going, oh, we have to start putting out live content, we have to start putting store stuff in, we have to do all this other stuff, because it's just going to take even longer for co-op and Forge at that point.
All right, so I do have a question for you guys that I see in the community a lot. People such as myself, I can play it with people, I can play it by myself. I prefer to play with like my brother and stuff, but there's a lot of people that, especially with it being in Game Pass, they're not playing this with other people. They're going to come there and play it by themselves. Do you think that like it like the people that want to play this other people, it's justified enough because they want to take away from the people that just going to play by themselves and make them wait 3 to 6 months to play the game? Because to me, it's always been, I don't care what no one else wants, I care what I want. And, you know, I've always been like that, but I can understand like the people that's playing the game by themselves and they're not going to play with other people that are like, yo, I've waited a year, I don't want to wait any longer. Like, if you want to play with people, that's on you. I'm playing this by myself, so why should I have to wait because you want to play with someone else?
So to me, that doesn't make any logical sense. The game is still not complete, whether they're playing it or not. And I don't care if they want to play it. It has not. My care isn't a part of that. The game is not complete, and I want the game to be complete.
I agree
with what they've stated. Also, I think as Microsoft, I would look at it and say, listen, Master Chief Collection was probably one of the most ruinous releases I've ever seen a company do. Like that was, and I even stated in the review, I'm like, even if they fix it, don't ever buy this. Don't.
Yep.
And I firmly stand behind that. I don't care when somebody says they had a good time playing it now. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Microsoft released their primary IP in such a shit state that it was worse than Raven's Cry, which, by the way, if you haven't played Raven's Cry, that's donkey shit. That's like digital herpes. So that's how bad Microsoft released the master. So to me, they have everything to prove and nothing, there's no confidence in them. 343 has missed it, but Gears, that's why before Rod Ferguson left, I was like, I wish he would go to 343 and figure out whatever's going on, because he seemed to handle Gears quite well. He seemed to be able to understand how to move. Gears had a hit or miss there, but I would never say that the worst Gears game was released anywhere near Master Chief, or that 4, which I know a lot of people weren't in love with, was better. Halo 4 was better than most of the Gears games. I think most of the Gears games are still considered better. I would have liked to have seen him go over and see something's going on there, obviously. Like something is happening. I don't think we have to even guess that now. I mean, we're looking down the barrel of it.
If you want my opinion, I don't know if you guys agree, but I would say the Master Chief Collection single-handedly derailed the entire Halo brand. Like
it did,
because I felt like it was at a hype where it wasn't necessarily like, you know, where it was, but it was like in the middle. But then when that Master Chief Collection, you got all these people with this nostalgia, man, we about to play this multiplayer, and then it doesn't work, and then it's just like completely derailed the entire franchise. And I feel like they owe the fan base a complete game, and like that's why I was saying earlier, like you already delayed this when it hurts you the most, so why another delay isn't even in the cards?
Here's a question I have for you guys.
I mean,
too.
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
I think. I mean, there is the aspect of how much time would it actually take to implement these things. For how long would this delay be? Would it be 7 months? Would it be another year? Would it be more than another year?
Shorter though than the delay it's going to be right now.
Yep.
That's
what I think.
I mean, and I mean, I completely agree with you
Sorry.
that the preferable option would be to delay it. But I'm just sort of arguing from the point of view of like that investor argument and Microsoft's argument of putting the game out now, in terms of the cost benefit analysis that they're probably doing on that aspect.
I mean, the thing is this is your flagship game. This is the game that defined Xbox. Be damned with the cost. Hire more people, get it done fast. Because a lot of companies don't realize players only have so much goodwill. And like, look at Blizzard. Blizzard's a great example. That goodwill is gone. They've lost more than half their player base across all their games. Like, you can only continue to give like people the middle finger so long before people completely lose faith in you as a company. And Halo just keeps hitting these roadblocks over and over again. And it's like, at a certain point, it's going to take you longer to make your money back, but it's your flagship game.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, it'll take an extra 6 months. It's like, throw more money at it, hire another 100 people, get it done in 3 months. It's not a matter of they can't do it. They're just refusing to. And I think that's very important.
Not quite how development works.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean,
you can't necessarily just throw money at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Solo Sword super chat. Halo release date sadly makes me feel it's this year's Cyberpunk. That hits hard.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk was so bad.
That's another thing. It's
hang on. I got to read this other one real quick. Kel says, which was worse, Halo Master Chief Collection or Warcraft 3 Reforged? They're not even on the same level. Halo Master Chief. They're not even on the same level. Halo Master Chief didn't even. It had co-op. Guess what? Couldn't co-op. So I technically we're back at that spot.
Warcraft 3 Reforged worked. It was just bad.
I do want to say one thing
Master
before
Chief,
Addict.
Co-op didn't work. Multiplayer didn't work. Nothing worked.
And
really.
It crashed.
In that mess.
Before Addict goes, I do want to say one thing, and I get shit on, so I want to remind people, we are talking about money and who spends what and blah, blah, blah. One thing I want to be clear is that this is separate from reviews, because I'll see people pop in and be like, what about reviews? When it comes to review, I review based on the amount of money asked versus what I'm getting. I don't know the budgets of companies. So while I talk about it in this podcast, when I go into a review, I do not know the budget. And if you have anybody even pretending for a second that they know the budget of a game behind the scenes, they are lying. They don't. Reviewers do not know the exact budgets of games. Also, a budget spent well could be worth less, or could be less money than a budget that's spent terribly, like Microsoft is obviously doing here. So when I review a game, for example, Aliens, I look at it and I'm like, this is $40. Did I get? And I didn't feel that I did. But one thing I heard somebody say is you should have taken into account it was bought 3 times. The company was bought 3 times and it was a smaller budget. And I'm like, number one, Double Fine was bought. And look what happened. Sometimes a purchase can be good. We don't know those things. Additionally, I think people just lie and they try to pretend they have all this data. And it's like a lot of times we don't know that. But again, I want to make sure that people understand what we're talking about in the podcast is separate. So if Del does a review or Jonny does a review or I do a review, that is different than in this podcast. And I'm always trying to inform people that this is more of a, we're doing cloud thinking here. We're connecting our brains, our 486 CPUs together and hoping they make a Pentium at some point.
It's also a dumb argument because it has, while it may have context to add to why the game is in the state it's in, it's not relevant to whether or not the purchasing decision.
Yeah, because the purchase power is the same.
Yes.
40 is 40 is fucking 40. That's 40. Like it doesn't all that other shit, that's for podcasts. That, in fact, if I had that big of an issue, I would not review a game and be like, let's talk about this in the podcast. One last, and then I want to make sure that Addict gets his say if he can even remember. Lucius says, you can't compare Halo Infinite to Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk hid how the game ran on last-gen consoles. 343 let everyone play on the VCR Xbone, and it works. That is actually untrue, just so you know. They didn't show it for a long time.
Actually.
And and there were multiple issues with what platforms they were going to show it. And Cyberpunk, I totally get you. They lied. They lied. But what is untrue is that you can't compare. You can compare. I can compare Alphabet Soup to a camera if I wanted. There is probably some overlap there, whether it's just the atoms that they use. But I think it's very easy to compare 2 AAA titles with development problems. I don't think that's that difficult to compare some of these, just so you know, Lucius. I'm not trying to argue with you. Do we agree, or does everybody think Lucius is right and I'm a dumbass? Can we not compare Cyberpunk and some of the issues they're having with Halo?
Yeah, because a lot of it is lining up. Like a lot of it is lining up.
It is, yeah.
Except for the untruth. I think that's what he wanted to point out, was the untruth part. He doesn't feel that Halo's been untrue, and I guess that's... Do you guys feel that? Yeah.
Well, they are coming openly, like, sure, it is a little bit close to the launch. Maybe they didn't know till now, but at least they're not waiting till like the week before. Oh, yeah, you can't play with your friends. You're playing by yourself, boo. So at least
there's something to be said about saying, oh, this is all going to be in the game, then walking it back. So, I mean, I definitely, when they said, hey, this is all going to be in the game at launch, and they were like, it's going to have co-op, it's going to have Forge, all this. And then, like 3-4 months before launch, they're like, whoops. There is something to be said about that. Yeah. I mean, if they didn't think it was possible back then, don't market it. And they had to have known it wasn't possible at that point by their release date, because they had there's people way smarter than us planning out the game's development and like how long these cycles are going to take. And so they had to have known that it wasn't possible with their window, that they weren't going to get these things done.
The problem is plans literally always overrun for large software development things. And what you present to stakeholders is your first plan, which is never correct. You always
but isn't Halo on their 4th plan?
It's like on their 4th,
because it's been delayed 3 times. Do you see what I'm saying, Jonny? So it's like it's been delayed and chopped up now, and now that's been delayed. It's like a train where they've separated the cars.
No, you're right.
You're like, which fucking one do I get on? I got to figure out which one.
And even more than that, Karak, to your point, it's like they weren't off by a bit. They're now content cutting 2 huge and Forge. You know, those are not small parts of the project, right? It's like saying we compared it to a car that maybe comes without a carburetor or something like that. Yeah. It's like, hey, it's barely functional.
You're missing seats at this point, and it's
right.
It really, and like I said, there's no way. And they marketed it up until like a couple months ago. They were saying that they were going to have co-op and Forge, and there's no way they didn't know. And so, as far as like the whole "are they lying" thing, I'd consider that to be lying. Like there's no way that they didn't know that it wasn't going to be there. And so, you know, I think that's what sucks is like we all thought like co-op, the campaign's there. How is co-op not? Yeah, like
True.
just get your net.
Well, and I think
working
co-op is different than Forge too, like you said, because Forge came along later and
Forge is
did
a
awesome.
separate
But
studio,
co-op
too, I
has
think.
been awesome since day one. Like I do think most people look at Halo, and if there's not co-op, they think, what? Like that's pretty much a staple. And it was a staple, just so people know, back in the day on the original Xbox, that was the craziness of having a Halo game because it looked great. They made sure, they were like, let's make sure. And then fucking 343 went out and said, we heard by not putting split screen, and whichever one they didn't put split screen, we heard your complaints. It'll never happen again. And then it's like, well, except for this other time. So let's move on from here. Move on from the negativity. Let's go to something positive. Is there anything positive? We talked about Psychonauts. Talked about what's something awesome. Oh, wait a minute.
You had
Wandering
something
Dutch
about
says
Dying Light. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. They knew it was possible, but the traditional method felt like shit, so they tried other variants that felt rubbish, and they have now settled on a variant of the slingshot for co-op. I don't know what that means. The slingshot? Is that a name for the Is that a name for?
I've never heard of it.
I don't know what that is, Dutch. To be honest,
I'm not familiar. Sorry.
Sorry. So, yeah, I don't know what that is. Anyway, do we have anything positive to talk about, Johnny? On the
We could talk about the. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, bring it up.
No,
the Wasteland DLC. I thought that would look cool too.
Oh heck yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Is anybody returning to that? Because I will.
I am definitely. I loved Wasteland 3. When I got to the Reagan part, my mind exploded. I loved that so much. Like at that point, the game was great, and that pushed it from great to like a legendary title. When I walked up to Ronald Reagan, and I was like, oh, wow.
It's such an underrated game.
Yeah, it's so good. Wasteland 3 is so fantastic.
Reg,
It had so many bugs for me.
are you not going back? Are you not going back? I was wondering.
Basically, completely unable to play it. Even in the opening, I already ran into quests, stopping bugs. Trying to play with Jonny, it completely reset our progress.
We tried 2 different times,
deleted
months
our
apart.
save game. So I was thinking about trying again if it maybe now works for me properly. But yeah, we'll see. But certainly not the DLC for now. I'd be happy if the base game works for me now.
Dan it said that slingshot was just that. It's just their term for player tethering. So
Right.
Yeah, I get it, man. I get it. This bugs are different for everybody, right? You know, it just is. In consoles, you're hoping that for the most part the bugs are the same, but it's not always the same. You know, I've seen that in my frame rate tests versus like Digital Foundry at times, or even Digital Foundry and another creator where, you know, sometimes even consoles will have slightly different FPS. But, man, when you look at like, I don't know, it just feels to me, like all those bugs, you can report what you get, but it's like you never know. Wasteland got really hurt by them. And I was hoping they wouldn't, but they got really, really hurt.
Kind of reminds me of State of Decay, man. It got hurt pretty bad from them too.
Yeah, it did.
Game wasn't playable. Yeah.
And I feel like both of these games, I mean, maybe a little bit less of Wasteland because it's still reviewed pretty well. But like, I felt like State of Decay would have did so much better if it came out not buggy.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask you something though, Lord. You're talking State of Decay lover, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they just showed State of Decay's updated trailer, and it looked like a Genesis game compared to everything else in this Gamescom. They showed like that's the thing. They did. They're moved to a different engine for 3, but it looks like donkey shit. So I think it wasn't just the bugs. It's like Days Gone, remember, released close to that. And Days Gone had its own fair share of bullshit. That was Sony's disaster.
But it's still a way better game, yeah.
Do you think that like a lot of people like didn't see a huge jump between the first and second one?
They did. They saw a jump. That was a big jump. It's got Black Crush. It's still got an issue with how it does its color. By the way, if people don't know what I'm talking about, go look at the Gamescom footage they just showed. Yeah. You see normal game. You see Gloop or Blop or Chud or whatever that game is called, where for Microsoft, where you're like shooting goop at people, and then it jumps to State of Decay and it's black crushed, which means like all the color is wrong. It's just it's rough looking. it doesn't. It's almost what I was worried Ascent would look like and didn't. Ascent looked properly lit, even if you didn't use ray tracing. Something about Dying Light needs to update. It needs to take that step, man, because it looks so fucking raw. And then you play it and your dude disappears, and that adds to the feeling of bugginess.
You know how you know when it's bad is when they have a feature in the game to get yourself unstuck. Like that's how they know that you're going to get stuck a lot. Yeah, like there is a feature in the game where you can click "I'm stuck" and it will respawn you somewhere else. Like
in MMOs, the slash stuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it's better to have that than to get stuck and not have it. But you know that they're like, we're coming in hot, so let's give them an unstuck button.
I like the game day one. I still like the game.
I love it.
But
dude, I played it this week, man. It's so fun.
It's so fun, but it's raw, man.
I got like 100 plus hours in that game. I loved every
Which
bit
game
of
are we referring to?
State of Decay.
Decay.
Okay.
Yeah, State of Decay was so good, man. I love that game. But I do get why everybody has an issue with it. Reg played a couple times with me. Silver, you've played a couple times State of Decay, right?
Yeah, I played it a bunch back when it came out.
When it came out, were you also of the opinion that it was rough?
Oh, very much so.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Wait, did you guys play on Microsoft when it launched on Microsoft Store?
I played.
Or...
I had Microsoft Store because I was trying to connect to some of our.
I
Discord.
literally could not play. On
That's
Microsoft.
actually when I first started. So I met you after that, right? At the Baldur's Gate thing. That I actually believe State of Decay is the first time I watched you stream. Or it was somebody streaming State of Decay, and I thought it was you, but everybody was having issues. I didn't have as reviewing it.
I could hardly play the game, and I was trying to. And
I know I saw
and it
that.
was just I like even so the most messed up thing. I made a ticket like a week into launch saying I couldn't use Microsoft Live to connect to friends, and we found that the issue was on Microsoft's backend. They support even told me that. A year and a half later, I got a ticket update saying this issue has just been patched.
Oh.
A year and a half.
It was No Man's Sky patching by No Man's Sky.
I was driving.
It was like, what the hell? I completely forgotten because I was like, I can't play this game. I'm done with it. And, to its credit, the Steam release worked fantastic. But the initial Microsoft Store, like, I just couldn't play with anyone. I couldn't connect online.
Dude, they can't do their store right.
Yeah, the store was also totally trash.
It was the Xbox too. I remember
repeatedly.
I played when I was driving on State of Decay. I hit like one of those night
bricks.
It wasn't a brick. It was like I don't live in a big city, so I don't have a whole lot of them here. The things that like light up street like a street light. Like I hit it in a certain way, and then it just threw me up in the air like 100 feet.
All right.
Just stuff like that. But
go ahead, Reg.
I still have the same problem with the Windows stores. Like the last game was the Ascent. Could not get it to run and play with other people. Started the Xbox version, instantly worked.
Yep.
Okay.
You gotta fix their shit.
Dude, you do. Have you ever talked to a restaurant owner? If they have like a bad front end, it'll fuck up everything. That's how people get to your shit. So if you have a great deal and they're like, I can't get to your fucking deal because your entire system doesn't work, then it doesn't matter what your deal is. People just be like, that's a good deal. You suck though. And that's what happens with, I don't know how the creator of Windows can fuck up their own store.
How they fuck it up, because obviously it's not my network. It worked without issue repeatedly with the Xbox.
Dude, it's
not with the Windows Store.
And it feels like they don't care. Like it low-key feels like they don't care.
Dude, there are even small things like if you search for a game on the Xbox app, it doesn't find the game.
I know.
Dude.
It doesn't work.
It's like there's hundreds of people on the Xbox version. They got like the people in the garage in the back working on the Windows version.
Right.
Yeah. The interns.
Yeah.
Bill Gates has stopped saving people in Africa, and he's just back in his fucking garage. Just one dude.
It's the one dude that also part-time caring for the Steam support.
He's calling Microsoft. Steve, I need more people. You do it yourself.
Reading some State of Decay 2 has become my always installed game. Nuri says, dude. By the way, I'm bitching here. I'll play that. If somebody was like, hey, I want to play that game, I'll play it right away. Wandering Dutch says, The problem they have with the slingshot method is that the game now has open world objectives, so how they manage open world form of slingshot in co-op. I got you. For some reason, Nightbot thinks slingshot is like slang for something really dirty. Because every time somebody says slingshot, it's like
slinging.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about stores? When you look at stores, does anybody? I would say the worst store is Microsoft. You know, Epic doesn't have a. Do they have a fucking cart yet?
Yes.
Does the Epic Store have a cart?
No, I think they added a cart.
Did they?
Didn't they?
Okay,
I don't think they. I think you have to go to checkout. I mean, Epic is so backwards still that if you want to download a free demo, you have to put it in your checkout, go to checkout, and then go through the
you have
checkout
to
process.
buy the
Yeah,
demo.
buy
for
the
free.
demo to play the demo.
Well,
Retro says something. Listen to this. Retro says that's why MS maybe started releasing games on Steam. No one was buying them on the Windows Store. That's
honestly, dude. If it's on
absolutely
both,
legit.
I
if it's
will
on
buy it
both,
on Steam.
Dude,
Even if it's
for
more
money,
expensive.
For sure, not on Xbox.
Yeah,
on the
not on.
Microsoft
Oh,
Store.
dude.
Yeah. I'll buy it on the Xbox. What's weird is my Xbox works great. Anything I'm trying to do, the Xbox itself, I have no issues with. It's just
the Windows Store. Yeah.
Yeah, once you open that thing, and then it'll be like, hey, man, do you want to search your games by Drive or by Alphabet? You'll hit Alphabet, and it'll bring up weird shit, and you'll be like, all right, well, I know I have State of Decay. And it's like, you do not have State of Decay. It's like, no, I know I have State of Decay. It's like, you do not own State of Decay. And you're looking at the app. Like the fucking shortcut is on your PC desktop, and you're like, it's right fucking there. And then they won't even give you access to the files it can't find. So it's like, we want to make sure you
don't have
can't get there.
permissions on the files.
We can't get there either, though.
It's like that Adam Sandler meme from Big Daddy. He's like, all right already.
Yeah. It's so crazy, man. What else do we got? Let's actually...
Dude. No, let me hate a little bit more in the Windows Store.
Oh my God.
Then you reinstall Windows for whatever reason because it fucks up again, as it usually does. And then you can't even reclaim your space without formatting your drive or taking ownership of the Windows files that are hidden. It's all other stores, even the Epic Store, recognize their own games that they downloaded. You can re-add them. You can say, I already downloaded that shit. Just start the game. Not the Windows Store. It's like, you have to re-download everything. I don't know what you want.
It has to deal with their like key authing program. With like how they auth that you own the game. And if it looks for the directory and your key's not tied to that directory, it just says it's not there. And so it's just crap. It's just a crap system.
Zariel was in chat. I want to say hello unless he's left already. I just haven't seen him in a while. Go ahead, Silver.
No, yeah, it's been too long. It's just worth noting that some of the Windows Store games that are on Steam are still run through the Windows Store.
Absolutely.
So you actually run them through both clients.
Fantasy Star, like
Sea of Thieves and whatnot. So sometimes with some of them you get kind of the worst of both worlds.
Let's talk about stores and have Reg do
ecosystem.
Reg will do the free games, and then Silver will do the independent game. Go ahead, Reg. What do we got for free games?
Okay, hang on.
So while he's looking this up, this will be Xbox, PC, PS4, everything. It'll be games. First, he's going to read absolutely free games where you don't require anything, and then he'll read free ones like Xbox Live and stuff where you need
And I'm there. So
all right, go for it.
So free games. First, it's on the Epic Game Stores. We have Automa Chef and Saints Row the Third Remastered. And on Indie Gala, we have Leisure Suit Larry 1, 2, 3. So the really old classic ones. Mm-hmm. All right, that's it with the totally free games. On let's scroll. Sorry. Coming up next week for Prime Gaming, which is Twitch, is Candleman: The Complete Journey, Knockout City, Puzzle Agent, Sam and Max Hit the Road, Secret Files 2, Puritas Cordis, Tools Up, and Unmemory. So that will be September 1st, next week, Wednesday. And anything else interesting? On Xbox Games with Gold, upcoming also next week, Warhammer Chaos Bane and Zone of the Enders HD Collection. On Game Pass, we have Myst for PC and Xbox, Psychonauts for PC and Xbox, and, well, that's it with the new ones. Anything we have on upcoming? Yes, Surgeon Simulator 2 Access All Areas for Xbox is coming next week to Game Pass. That's the end of the list.
There's almost nothing on that list.
Well, there is the original Psychonauts, especially like as a lead into maybe playing Psychonauts too.
I feel like it should have been last month then, like to build up into Psychonauts.
True that. Maybe it
right,
was,
because
though.
right now, if there's two, it's like, would you play? It's like if you can choose between,
Is that
the
new
better
Myst?
looking sister.
You said
would
Myst.
always just.
Is
It
that
is the new Myst. It is the remade Myst, yeah.
Oh, okay.
With VR support.
I saw that too, yeah. Yeah. I heard somebody said that they got deathly ill. One of the VR, I think it's the
That's
guy,
very
Nitro.
plausible.
It was Nitro Lord, or Nitro Beast Productions. He's in our Discord. He stated in his Twitter he got violently ill in the VR.
I tried the non-VR version of that game, and yeah, it was very nostalgic, remembering.
Oh, and
like,
they and the
still
old
image. Yeah,
Are you
the
still?
old one.
Yeah, that'd make me.
No,
sad.
now it's free motion, like everything 3D, and you can walk around.
So really, anything else on there in that list that anybody's even interested in?
Not really, no.
No,
Nah.
me neither.
Nothing popped.
All right, Silver. Speaking of popping, let's pop and stop. Let's go to it. This is why he's black and white, people, because he's doing the indie game. They don't even have enough money for color.
Exactly.
That's fair. That's fair.
Oh my god.
What do you got?
It's tough out
Um,
there.
Well, I have a Taiwanese game this time called Behind the Frame: The Finest Scenery. This is a very short game. It'll run you probably less than an hour even. But it's absolutely gorgeous. Like, it has this art style that combines sort of anime with sort of hand painted 2D, more traditional sort of painting art. And it centers around an artist who's trying to finish her last piece that she's going to for a collection she's going to submit to an art gallery. And so it sort of goes into some of the thoughts going through her head, through life and so forth, through various puzzles that are not very difficult. They're very breezy, like art style, really, really lovely. Music is really, really nice. What's nice about the music is that it's actually sort of grounded in the game. So it's actually the character who puts in tapes on a tape player. Music tapes that play, and music pretty good as well. I definitely recommend people take a look at it. It's like $8 or $9, and yeah, it'll run you about an hour or so. But I think it's a lovely game.
You said Steam.
Steam, yeah. I think it might also be on itch.io. But I don't think it's on. I don't think it's on Xbox or PlayStation 4.
Do you guys ever play like those kind of indie games like he's talking about, Addict and Delrith? Do you guys get a chance to play those kind?
Hey, dude, I haven't. Not really.
Yeah,
I mean, like the YouTube,
there.
like last year and a half, like year since I like tried to do my own thing. You know how hard it is.
Yeah.
I'm literally, if I'm not streaming, I'm
Yeah.
working on that, and what is playing games? Like I haven't had a chance, so unfortunately, no. I think the last indie game I played that was like indie was Crypt of the Necrodancer, and that game was
That's a good one.
fantastic. I
Loop
love
Hero
that
is
game.
also awesome
yeah.
if you haven't played.
Oh,
Loop
I did play Loop Hero. I did get a chance to play Loop
That's
Hero.
coming to
Yeah.
the Switch, isn't it? That's coming to the Switch.
Is that coming to the
Yeah.
Switch? Dude, Loop
Yeah.
Hero, I don't even love those games. And Loop Hero, I was just like, what? This is fucking awesome.
It was good.
It was just
Yeah.
on the side kind of thing. Like, it's almost an idle game. Well, it is an idle game. It was a weird game, but I love that. I thought that was awesome. Yeah, with the indie titles and, obviously as creators, it's harder to jump in, but there's been indie AA, there's been so many good games. Like every time somebody will mention a random game and I'll be like, wait, what? And because I haven't played that far. I tweeted about it this morning. It's like ships going left to right. They look like steampunk, far space or whatever. And there's a new one that's going to have submarines. And it's like everybody in my Discord was talking about this. And I just have never got a chance to play some of these. Like there's multiple games that'll pass you by.
Wasn't the Ascent indie?
The Ascent is pretty close. Yeah, Neon Giant.
Yeah.
I think it's an indie game.
Well,
Yeah.
The thing is they had 12, but then if you watch their interviews, I talked about this in the Walking the Walk. By the way, if anybody gets a chance, check the Walking the Walk video out. I did it. Almost nobody watched. I appreciate those few people who did. The Walking the Walk video, I do talk about how they did admit in their interviews that they used about 100 contractors. So, which is fine because it's 12 main people, and then they hire out for like art over here, Fiverr, like whatever you need to do, you can do. Hey, dude.
Yeah, I mean, because that can mean like anything. Yeah.
I think when it comes down to it, like, there's always like that AAA game that really got my attention, but then there's like 6 indie games that I'm like, yo, this is quality. Like, I remember I put so many hours in Moonlighters. It was like ridiculous.
Moonlighters? I haven't played that either.
It's like a Zelda, like an old style Zelda bit game that like what you get in the dungeons, you have to sell to upgrade your equipment and stuff. And like it was kind of like a merchant simulator. As weird as that sounded. Like I remember like being so infatuated with this damn game, like I couldn't stop playing it because it was one of those things where it's like you have to keep going to the dungeons and keep getting more and more stuff to sell so you can upgrade your stuff so you can actually get through the dungeon. Like,
yep.
Yeah, it's so weird too because I'll play triple, double, whatever, but it is weird that sometimes you'll catch that one game that just surprises you. Like for me, Life is Strange surprised me. Oxenfree blew me away. Life is Strange blew me away, and then Plague Tale. I would never have assumed Plague Tale would have been my thing.
Yeah.
But Plague Tale was just from start to finish. I was just in awe of that game. I was like, I have no clue where this fucking thing even came from, but it is fantastic. And then they're doing Flight Simulator. Talk about a jump for a company.
Yeah.
I think I put like 60 some hours in Star Renegades. That was another good game.
Star Renegades is another one, yeah. And Star Renegades would definitely be considered indie.
And that was one of the most well thought of turn-based games I've ever seen. Like it was that good.
It's got a lot going on in that game. What were we gonna say, Del?
I played Celeste. Celeste was something I tried. That was an indie game, probably the best platformer I've ever played. Like
really?
And yeah, like Celeste was fantastic. And I mean, just there's so many indies. Like you're right completely that like indies blow you away more than anything. I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's was an indie game.
Yeah,
Undertale was an indie game. Like Celeste is an indie game. Like the most memorable games for me have been indie games. Like it's wild. They just come out of nowhere and they're just 10 out of 10.
It's also really interesting because I mean the increased accessibility we have now with more people are able to make games and put their games out on the market, that we're getting games now that from parts of the world that we didn't get games from here ever before. So we're getting games from like Vietnam, Taiwan, and other countries where we would never have gotten those games in years past. And so we get all of these different perspectives, all of these different genres, and video games today are more diverse than they ever have been in terms of genre, in terms of experiences they offer. It's just it gets to be too much at times where you get sort of paralyzed by choice.
Analysis paralysis, right? Where you start looking at shit.
I definitely agree because like my favorite genre most likely is turn-based, like the older Final Fantasies, and like
gotcha.
It's so hard to like get like a AAA quality turn-based because they don't make a whole lot of them besides like the Dragon Quest and stuff. So like when it comes to that particular genre, I have to go indie and AA almost every time. And, you know, that's why I was so happy when I saw Dragon Quest 11 do really well. Yakuza Like a Dragon did really well because I'm seeing like these games are selling well, and it's in like the publisher. Okay, we can make money doing this. We just got to do it right. Like,
publishers have that short-term memory for, and then weirdly long-term memory at other times. But they have really short-term memory for some stuff, and a couple turn-based didn't do well, and they were just like, we're not doing those. And
we're done.
You start to
forever.
See, and you start to see maybe people just didn't want to play another Dragon Quest for a little while. Maybe that's
Bravery,
all.
For sure.
I think Bravery Default started turning that whole genre around.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I think after Bravery Default, people started looking at that genre more.
Speaking of that, let's talk about this. What are your guys' favorite genres? One, you can only pick one. What's your favorite genre?
mine's either turn-based or the type of gameplay that XCOM is. I don't know exactly what that's called. Like the grid space turn-based?
Strategy turn-based? Turn-based strategy? Yeah, that's turn-based strategy. What about you, Johnny?
Yeah.
One of those.
For me, it's gotta be like if I have to pick one, like favorite child is probably
Kick the others. Other children will starve.
in the nuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Third person action stamina based combat. So think Souls,
Dark
Neo,
Souls.
that kind of.
Gotcha. Silver?
I really don't have a favorite. So if I pick one, it's just throwing a dart at a dartboard.
Go for it. Throw the dart.
Role playing game.
Dart.
Role-playing game. All right. What about you, Reg?
JRPGs.
Oh, damn. What about you, Del? What do you got?
Survival games. I love survival games.
No!
Absolutely love them.
Uh-huh.
How dare
Nice.
you? Are you
Dude,
talking
they're
chop a fucking tree down survival games?
No. Like Green Hell was probably one of the most funniest
Really?
things ever. I just love survival
The
games. like that.
forest, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
the forest, Green Hell.
What was that one game? Like the survival game? It's like you're in a snowy mountain. Like what is that thing called? A Long Dark or something like that?
A Long
Yeah,
Dark,
yeah,
that was
game.
good.
That was
That
a good game. Yeah.
I don't really like that genre a ton. That was a good game, though. That was like good atmosphere to it. Go ahead.
What about Subnautica? Do you like that? Del?
Fantastic game. Yeah, that was another
Nice.
survival game that I consider was fantastic. Like also survival multiplayer, same thing, right? Survival game, survival multiplayer.
Is
It's all
that
the
like
same
Ark?
thing.
Like Ark?
Conan,
Those
Rust,
games
like
have
stuff
a
like that. Yeah.
dedicated server, man. My friend,
Yep.
he was hardcore into that scene, and man, he was showing me like some of the wars. Like they will literally fight on servers for weeks, like giant battles.
Yeah,
that
survival
take
games are
place
fun.
for
Yeah.
weeks.
Dude, I love that. I love that. As long as it's positive.
Yep.
Like I'm so infatuated. We'll never play it, and fuck anybody who does because I don't understand your brain. But EVE Online, I can read about EVE Online for days,
Yep.
and just be like, this is the greatest sci-fi novel epic that will ever exist. It is another reality that most of us who know about other realities in games don't even grasp the minutia of. I would never play it, but man, I eat up their stories of these battles.
The
these
stories
epic
are
things.
good, but you read the stories and you realize that community is so toxic that you're just like,
It
I gotta
is,
stay
yeah.
30 football, just stay away.
Yeah. I mean, because best friends are screwing each other over for real money 3 years later.
Yep,
Like it
yep,
would ruin.
Yeah.
It would
What
ruin your
is-
psyche because you're already
Yep.
worried about online friends because they're different. Even though you should probably be worried more about your real life friends. What was it?
What is
Yeah.
the maybe you guys are talking about this game? Like Eve, are we talking about the space game? Eve?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
EVE Online.
There is
yeah.
a game that I don't know. You guys probably know what it's called, but it's like the whole point is like to take over the world. It's like a giant online thing or something like that, where it's like everyone has to agree on politics, everyone has to agree on how the infrastructure, everyone has to agree on money wise. And I remember, I'll have to look it up while we continue the podcast, but I remember, man, like the way these people be talking about this game, it's like the craziest shit I've ever heard of. While we do the podcast, I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna find out what game.
Yeah, look
I
that up
don't know
because
what-
that
yeah.
doesn't sound like Eve because no one agrees on shit in Eve.
No,
I mean, they
everyone
do
just
come
kills
together in
each
their
other.
forums, but they go at each other. Yeah, Eve is, again, it's phenomenal to read about. Stellaris, no, it's not multiplayer, though. Not in that way. Not in, like, a big group.
Nobody
Yeah.
ever agrees with each other in EVE. They just mutually hate people together, which makes them work together. There is no such thing as
Yeah.
friendship.
That's
in
great.
Okay,
Dragon
let me
Age.
tell you, though, a game that has an amazing community that's sort of like that, though, that is almost not universally positive, very positive, and that is Elite Dangerous. Like,
True.
people
Yeah,
going
yeah.
and giving each other gas 7-star jumps away or whatever, and you
Yep.
can go to
Eco.
forums and say, I'm out of... What?
It's called Eco. ECO.
Okay.
I have never heard of that game.
ECO.
That's
Like,
interesting.
Yeah, I've seen it. around.
You gotta look that up. Like it's the craziest stuff I've ever heard of. We had someone on ILP that is like obsessed with it. He was telling us about this game, and it's like the craziest stuff I've ever heard. Like,
I mean, I love the idea of it, but I just don't have the mental fortitude to stick with something. Like if I have a lot of MMOs I'll return to and bounce off of,
Mhm.
but I usually don't stick with something for that. I mean, to get that good, those guys are in it, right? They've got spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I was watching people play some of these games. I'm like, dude, I just don't have I just don't have the time. Or watching somebody play WoW and being like, this doesn't even look fun to me. It's such a macros
right.
on top of
In
macros.
that
Well, it's not
game-
fun to most people anymore. So
In that game,
yeah,
you-
true that,
in
right?
that
like,
game,
let's be honest.
in that game, you have legit elections and shit. Like, it's crazy, man. Like,
We have a big enough problem with real ones. For some reason, I think virtual ones would be worse right now. Elite Dangerous and EVE Live need a second dream. Need a second dream. I don't know what that means, but sounds good. The
I think it's
biggest
a Warframe reference to like revitalize the game.
the biggest debate game is Star Citizen. What the fuck happened to that? I played it yesterday. Star Citizen is just one of those games that like I'll just continue playing until it comes out.
It is its
Yeah.
own thing. Yeah.
I mean, there's like a 10-hour conversation right there about that game. So definitely don't want to get into that.
Which ones? Twitter? Addict?
yeah, check your. I mean, I could just say, like, I think you missed a super chat, and I didn't want to like
What
say
one?
anything out. If someone said 279 super chat from RDX, son of Fat, he said Ratchet was called out for lying by devs. I don't know if you got that one or not, but
No, I didn't. Thank you, RDX. I didn't know that. And I don't even know why would Ratchet and Clank be called out for lying by devs?
apparently that something along the lines that some other entity said that Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart could be done on the PS4 or 3, one of those platforms. So like now, started a whole chain of nonsense. I knew what he was talking about, but I definitely wanted you to notice that if you because my brother came in here, was bothering me, so I was like, maybe he read it when my brother was in here, so I was like, make sure he knows.
Sometimes I won't read, even if it's a super chat, if it's just like caustic. That's not caustic, but I just don't know anything about that. Yeah, I don't. I mean, so people are trying to say that Ratchet and Clank. Okay, so I do get the discussion. I do understand, because one thing that Insomniac did was they sort of pretended that moving from world to world and all this shit was completely impossible. It's not. It's just what caveats you have. It's just like the medium.
Definitely.
The medium is that way. I'm sorry, but the medium, they were like, oh man, it's two worlds at the same time, blah, blah, blah. And it's like completely impossible anywhere else. No, it's not. It's absolutely not.
I
But
personally,
There's an element of EA and
there's an element of
SimCity
EA.
can't be online.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Or
yeah.
can't be
Sims
offline, rather.
can't build pools.
Yeah.
Remember when Sims, what was it, Sims
Yeah.
4, where you couldn't
Yeah.
dig a swimming pool anymore? So, yeah.
Yeah,
it-
the two
it
worlds
happens.
thing, like Titanfall 2 did it before Medium did.
yeah.
So
Well,
Yeah, true.
I played that Ratchet and Clank. Like, I'm not saying that it wasn't cool, but I am saying that Insomniac was overblowing the shit out of that feature. Like, they were kind of like they showed you that big like set piece at the beginning of the game, but then it's like that happens one other time and that's all. Like that doesn't happen all throughout the game.
Yeah,
and it
right.
kind of made you think that those rifts were a big part of the game when it was mainly just like a traversal thing to get from this point to that point of the map for the most
No,
part.
it
of the
absolutely,
game.
that is exactly true. That is exact.
Yep.
But in a way, most trailers are that.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Every
yeah.
Nicolas Cage movie doesn't have him just do, well,
Yeah, it's the highlights.
maybe not Nicolas Cage. Maybe I should have mentioned a different actor.
yeah,
A
no,
different
he's the same. Yeah,
Nicolas Cage is probably that, but you get my drift that like they'll show a movie, it'll be this action scene, this, and sometimes they're not even at the same time. When you watch a trailer, you'll be like,
Yep.
oh, it looks like they're interacting, and you'll watch the movie and go, oh, wow, those guys don't even interact in the movie or what have you. I'm not too bothered by that. I did mention it in my review, though, that it is a big deal, but that first scene was sort of.
And then they did
You
at
know.
the end too. So I can't say it was like one time.
Yeah,
But there
yeah.
was a
How
couple
about this?
good times.
Instead of saying they only did it twice, we would have liked to have seen it done more.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
That's
that-
true.
That's
fair.
a positive
fair.
spin on it. It would have been, because it was still a great game. It was still.
Oh, it was a phenomenal.
it was
game.
fantastic. Yeah,
Dude, it was. And graphically, man, and audio.
blew my
and-
mind. The graphics were so crazy.
Jesus, the graphics. are good
And
in
like
that game.
to say the whole thing about like the devs lying about it being on PS4, I'm glad it wasn't.
Yeah,
like-
yeah, me too.
Games being designed for old gen systems is stupid, and I'll say it straight up. It's holding everything back because they have to spend all their resources trying to make it work on an older system and stuff. And it's like, yes, it sucks for the people that don't have the new systems, but things can't move forward if you don't let them. So
And I think it makes sense for a first party dev to do that. Or second
yeah,
party. as
absolutely,
whatever they may
absolutely,
be.
yeah.
Those guys are just masters, though, too. Dude,
It was so
if,
good.
If
yeah.
people don't know what I mean by masters, go to GDC and look up any of their games on GDC and listen to their people talk about games. It's a fucking level that's so far above. It's like John Carmack when he talks about VR, and you're all, I think I know 10% of what. Well, the frame buffers fucking move. Blah, 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 blah. And you hear these guys in Insomniac talking about, 1 millisecond they needed from a game in a frame buffer because of this and this. And so they rewrote everything. They used this compressor on these parts. And you're just like, they know their system, man. That's why I'm happy that they let them go with Sony. Like, it was obvious, right? I mean, I get it. I get that people want it on everything, but I'm actually okay. It's like, it's obvious that works for them. Just like Bethesda works with Microsoft, and I know that's going to piss people off.
Yeah,
but
it's funny you say that.
Like they work
together. Because, sorry to cut you off, but a lot of people have the feeling that some devs don't press when they press like export game or whatever in their software. Game. Like there's a shit.
Do you have an export all my work button at your work?
Yeah.
For sure.
It's like they have like
autofill code button.
Yeah.
It's like some devs have access to a button that says like high quality versus normal.
Right. It's a license in Unreal.
Box.
It's a license in Unreal you never are told about.
They forgot to tick. But the reality is just, these people that's the level you have to go to min-max and squeeze all the performance from the system. And that's the level of competence you need.
I mean, so the other thing too is real quickly about development for games that are exclusives is when you know how big your sandbox is and you only have one sandbox to work in, you could push the game to its limits. Like Ratchet and Clank, Bloodborne was the best example of that. Awesome. Ghost of Tsushima too. And so there is something to be said about Ratchet and Clank being on just Sony, just on PlayStation, because they knew exactly what they were working with and they pushed the envelope super hard. So definitely good.
The thing oh, good.
I was gonna say I actually thought Gears 5 was a phenomenal game.
That's where I was going. That's weird. I was going to Gears 5.
Right.
Gears 5 for Microsoft, and seeing that on the Xbox and seeing it hitting 60 at 4K and all the shit that was doing was really impressive.
Some black magic.
Really impressive.
I actually have a funny story about Gears 5. You know how like there was two versions, the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S? I was on the S, my friend Kid Smooth was on the X. And so what would happen is when we would die and we would reload, his would load in quicker and he was the host. So the game is going on his screen and I'm still there and it's a black screen and he's got to protect me until I actually load in.
I have like footage of first person mode that I don't think they even told anybody about. I was playing with Citizen Sleeve from our Discord. And he loaded in after dying and he was in first person mode. Complete. Was able to move around, everything. We had never seen it before. You could see down the gun, I have footage of it. It was just obviously a glitch and it didn't move the camera the way it was supposed to. Yeah. Justin Zuba, thank you very much for the super chat.
I personally felt like Gears 5, like I get it that, the third act was kind of a letdown in some ways to a lot of people, but I was like, man, Act 1 was amazing. Act 2 was amazing. Act 4 was amazing.
Do you know what's amazing? No, dude. Gears Tactics.
Oh, yeah. I like that game too. I drifted more towards XCOM, but I did enjoy Gears Tactics.
Dude, Gears Tactics made me feel like Gears was a tactical game. It was so weird. Every single thing
that the real game different.
Yes, every single movement in Gears Tactics, I was like, "Oh my god, I do this in normal Gears." Like this, like even the timing of stuff felt
such a good fit.
Oh, such a good fit. Yeah, and not every game, Halo, because Halo had some weird top-down one that I remember. I didn't like.
Halo Wars.
We can't go after Halo Wars. I enjoyed that.
It was buggy as fuck for me day one. That's
Halo
another
Wars
Halo game that was buggy as fuck for me.
I actually, if they made that, that XCOM style game for Halo, I think that would work out. They would just have to make that.
Hey, we normally go to like 1:15, which is another hour. Do you guys have time? Because you guys can. I never told you guys how long we go.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So what else we got, Johnny?
So for topics, you mentioned Dying Light 2. I don't know if you had anything specific
in talking about.
Yeah, I love Dying Light.
Do you think this looks good?
I think it's going to do well. I mean, I'm still concerned on exactly what's been going on with the development, because I know they delayed it, and that definitely for a little bit. But like what they've shown me, like I can get down on it, man. Like as long as they don't give me a bunch of bad information, that's getting played day one. Because I love Dying Light. I thought that was like the gem of last gen that like I felt like it didn't get the proper praise it deserved. And I've seen her play. It's like one of the very few scenarios where I was against the industry. I was like, dude, this game's awesome. And it's just like I felt like some people didn't like it as much as I did. And I felt the weirdo, but I was okay with being the weirdo because I was loving that game. So
Del, it sounds like you're the same way. You were a fan.
I thought Dying Light 1 was great, fantastic, and the co-op made it like so much more fun to just have your friends die and laugh at them. And so like Dying Light was fantastic. As far as Dying Light 2 goes, I'm hoping they focus more on the infection than the human interactions, because I hate human drama. I hate the whole, there's a zombie outbreak, but we're going to focus on human bullshit for like 70% of the game. And what they've shown so far was mostly human on human drama and raiders and stuff. And it's like, I don't want that in a zombie game. If I want that, I'm going to go play The Division. Like that's pretty much what it is. And so I'm hoping so hard they focus like 70% of the story on the zombies and the infection and that stuff, rather than, oh my God, this person beat up a woman in the street, you have to go fight their gang type of stuff. Because it's like, there's so many of those already, man. Stick to your identity. And I'm hopeful. I really am, because the first one was great.
I understand you. I actually like more want like a 50-50 with the human interaction and the zombie interaction. Cause like I always felt like but like they have to have like in depth on the humans. Like it can't just be fetch quest, fetch quest, right? Like it's got to be very well told stuff going out through the story. And it looks like for the most part it is, because I always feel like when I kill about 10-15 zombies, I'm okay, I'm done with this. What's next? Like,
what about Reg Silver?
Yeah, I liked the first one, Dying Light. I didn't play the DLC, but I finished the main game. And well, what we saw of the gameplay, I was rather surprised how old it looked.
Thank you.
It did look dated, yeah.
When he jumps off that car, Reg, with the weird kick and its legs like going wrong and all the animations are weird, I'm just like, this looks beat up.
It did look bad, yeah.
It looked nowhere near what I was expecting.
Right.
For a game that's still in development. So I don't know. I hope that the gameplay will be good though, because it was in the first one.
What about you guys in chat? I did ask. Are you guys interested in this? What do you think of the trailer? Silver, any thoughts on Dying Light 2?
I haven't seen the trailer, but I did really enjoy the first one. I've been looking forward to the second one ever since it was announced.
It was like 10 years ago.
There was a lot of stuff going on in the first Dying Light that never really sort of got a lot of coverage, like with the multiplayer, which I actually found to be pretty fun, where people could actually like invade your game, like in Dark Souls, and take control of special zombies or special like infected in the game and hunt you at night.
Yeah, that was cool.
Which could make nice, like legitimately scary when you're being hunted by another player, because they were powerful. And yeah, so I'm interested to see if I haven't actually read up on whether they carry that on in Dying Light 2, but though there were a lot of aspects to the first Dying Light that I thought were really interesting, and that I'm going to be really interested to see how they carry on into Dying Light 2.
What about you, Jonny?
Yeah, I would like to see a more fleshed out parkour system. I never quite felt any sort of flow in it. It could just be that I didn't play it enough to, get in the field, but it would be cool to see something a bit more where they try to streamline that.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jonny. I think one of the biggest like faults that game had is like the missing link to the parkouring was the grappling hook, and you didn't get it to like pretty much use a maxed out character.
Exactly. You would feel like your momentum was always like
my chair's breaking.
Stopped.
Here's my thoughts.
Is that a piece of your chair?
Dude, this is the top of my chair. This is how high rent I am. I have the nice back here, but so what I was gonna say was I don't care about Dying Light 2. I want Dead Island 2. And yes, you heard me right. I like Dead Island. It's B-movie, terrible, goofy. The one thing that Dead Island did better than Dying Light was weaponry and all the upgrades. That to me, when we all got together, 4 people playing the 360 version, which it was terrible frame. I mean, the worst frame rate you can imagine on a console. It was like 12, and it didn't matter because it was just so fun. Fun is what matters. Dying Light was never as fun to me as Dead Island, if that makes sense. Dying Light was good, higher production. A better single player, a better story, and it didn't have the "Hoodoo the Voodoo Bitch," the weird song at the starting of Dead Island.
My brother listens to that to this day.
Dude,
like
I've got it on my hard drive. I've got that song.
It's funny, man. You know,
I just love that game.
I definitely
remember.
I was just because I definitely vibe with you on the weaponry, but like, I don't know why, but I love Dead Rising 2 with their weaponry. That like.
Oh yeah, Dead Rising 2 is
like
Dead Rising.
to this day.
Dude, I like Dead Rising. Sorry, I'm sort of a whore for Dead Rising.
Yeah, to this day, man. Yeah. Not too many memories break the Dead Rising 2 weaponry to any other game that's ever been out. Like,
true. Like you can't beat getting an auger and using it on zombies
or
and watching them get stuck and go
even 3, which notably I wasn't in love with that character. They had like the you could build like vehicles, and it was so.
They should have built off of 3.
I liked 4 actually. I don't know why. I thought 4 transforming into Street Fighter characters, and like you see him show up as Chun-Li. And well, he's Chun-Li, dude, but it's him. It's so wrong. And he's just like doing the flips and shit. It was so out of control. I like that stuff. I get why people didn't like it, but I loved it.
Thought Dead Rising 3 was a phenomenal like launch title for the Xbox.
For the Xbox, yeah. That was Xbox One, wasn't it? Man,
yeah.
Those are old days. All the zombie ones were those release titles. Like, they're so good back in the day.
Dead Rising was a release title for Xbox. Or Xbox 360.
Xbox 360, yeah. Overheated the shit out of the 360s. It was one of the first games where I remember one of my friends was like, "What's a red ring mean if it's around the power button?" I was like, "Oh, Jesus."
I guess that's where I stand with our earlier conversation about the Saint Rose, where it's like, I would rather them try to rebrand Dead Rising and bring it back to me than just get rid of it entirely.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think we probably all would agree on that. It's just not what they're doing. Like, there's a lot of hopes I have. I just, at some point, if I hold on to all the hopes, then I actually start to get a little depressed, if that makes sense. I have to like sort of. That's why I turned that one comment around and and tried to make something positive. I can't remember what we were talking about, but we were talking about Ratchet and Clank. You know, was it a lie? And I was like, well, how about we just say we want it more? Because at some point, it's just all negative, right? At some, it can be, this industry can be a little hard on your psyche. And it's like, I've been lucky because I came out of stuff that was worse, but it's like, when you see it and you see people, and you see, like, even a dev, the guy losing his job, that bothered me yesterday. Or not losing his job, but retiring. He did a good game.
Yeah.
And he did a game people loved, but you know, they returned it, which is also their right. But they found a loophole. And I was just sitting there going like, man, that sucks. Like I remember as a kid thinking making games would be awesome. I never once thought, what would it be like to make a game that people beat and then returned instantly, and I lost it all.
And you know what's the sad part? It's like when you see like big AAA titles fail, it's one thing, but then when you see someone put his heart and soul, like a couple
when it's one dude,
and they do all they do this game, and it's just like he made a phenomenal game, and people found a loophole. I beat it.
Who's the guy who made Fez? Remember that guy let Fish, right? Wasn't that his last name?
Yeah.
Fish, the dev, and he left gaming altogether. Oscar just said, talking about fun beat quality games, which we should all figure out what our best beat quality game is, but he brings up EDF, which is awesome. Those games.
I love EDF, man. EDF is so good.
They're so dumb. They're so over the top and dumb.
Iron Rain was awful though, and I'm so glad
didn't like that one?
After Iron Rain, they were like, okay, we're going back to the normal hokey thing. Iron Rain was another studio, and they tried to make a serious game of EDF with like actual plot and seriousness and drama, and it was just garbage. And then next game, they went right back to EDF, and it was like the best thing. So that's
I think
what
Silver's
I play EDF
played
for.
and owned every one of them, haven't you, Silver?
Yeah.
Not everyone.
Not everyone.
I started from 4.1 when it released on PC. That was the first one I played.
I played that on
the 5.
so 360 was my first one, and it ran like dog shit when you would get all the silver spaceships. But my friend and I couldn't believe there were so many enemies. It was a little bit like Dead Rising. Whenever you see a lot of something, your brain is like, you see a lot of zombies in a zombie game, you're like, that's amazing. And I saw those silver spaceships, and I was like, and it's like a B movie, War of the Worlds kind of thing. Oh, and then, but then you're also using like M16. It's so weird. It's such an odd game. Who makes that? Who publishes and makes that? Is it one company, one dev who makes all of them, or is it?
It's one dev, and they have a publisher. I forget who.
Yeah, because I don't even remember that. Do you guys...
It's Sandlot, and the publisher is D3.
So the reason why I mention that is before we start talking about other stuff, real quick, I just want to mention I did talk about wrestling, and I want to make sure I point something out to you guys because I almost had it be the cover of the podcast. Wrestling's huge again. So like wrestling was dead. Wrestling was huge, then dead, blah blah blah. And for the last couple of years, it's been coming back. And you see what's his name, the guy who went to the UFC, and then now he just popped on AEW. What's his name?
No, it's not Miz.
Somebody's gonna pop it in the thing. But anyway, he comes back, gets an unbelievable pop. Wrestling's being talked about all the time, and yet we've got one game coming by Ukes. But it just seems to me like that's one place where I'm waiting and ready for a big wrestling game. Somebody to take it from 2K. Is it 2K who does the WWE ones?
I think it's 2K.
2K, not Rockstar, right? It's 2K. Yeah. They're terrible. Those things are terrible. They're built in that Madden. CM Punk, thank you. I don't know what my issue was. I couldn't remember CM Punk. Brock Lesnar came to WWE. But I was going to ask, are any of you guys, other than me, a wrestling fan? Because I'm actually a huge, if it's a good game, like that is one of my top tier titles I like to play is wrestling games. Do any of you guys even like these, or is it just me?
I've always been just that kind of person. Like my friend was in it. Like I watched the Royal Rumbles. Like, so I guess like I never really, I did see my friend play one of the older games, and some dude was like a Spartan and kept like doing the same move over and over again. Like it was crazy. Some of the creative people that's on those games.
Yeah. What about you, Del? Are you a wrestling fan at all?
I mean, like as the series, no, like wrestling in general is like I know it's super entertaining because it's basically a stage show that's super choreographed and really awesome. And I think that's impressive. The actors are fantastic. But like unless the game is phenomenal, it's never on my radar, right?
Makes sense.
I know for a while I loved watching the automated Twitch streams where people downloaded mod characters.
Yes,
and it would be like Gabe
so
Newell versus like Johnny Bravo or something.
Yeah,
like that stuff was awesome, and like because it was all automated, and that sort of stuff is great. But it's like, I agree with you. Like it's become a FIFA where they're just putting out title after title, and it's just old and uninteresting and just shit. Like honestly, and I wish someone else would take up the mantle of wrestling and do something fantastic. Because I mean, just imagine wrestling with like Street Fighter animations and stuff. That sort of stuff would be so good.
Super high level crazy shit would be, and they just it feels so cookie cutter in how much they pay, how much they.
I mean, you think of stuff like luchadors. They could easily do something like that with luchadors, like, but they don't. Nobody's doing it, and it's like, why? It's easy to. It's not easy, but it's a concept that's like not been exploited yet. So why not?
I'm gonna throw another wrench in your thing. I don't really mess with wrestling like that, but imagine if they had like a real quality head-to-head fighter make like an actual head-to-head fighter with wrestling characters, like someone that makes like maybe Dragon Ball Fighter Z or like Street Fighter, something like that.
Some of them are like that, dude. Some are pretty impressive wrestling characters in those.
Dude, I remember growing up.
Go ahead, Johnny. Yeah.
Well, I remember growing up watching, The Undertaker and all those guys. And for me, what I loved was the combination of almost soap opera, like the drama, right, between the different people, like that they kind of staged, like, oh, you're gonna spit in his face, like and that, and then their physical performance of how they do the fights and their technique and stuff. That was very cool. How they married the two, that it doesn't seem like they would fit. The kind of soap opera aspect with the physical one. So I that spoke to me. And I think I'd like to see them play to that in a game because I don't know, maybe Karak, you could tell me the current games don't seem like they have any of that like real meaningful interaction between characters. Is there some kind of campaign you play?
They have like the My Story kind of stuff. It's just never done. It's just not done
not
well.
Inspired.
It's not inspired. Yeah, it's like they paid the money to get the skins so like Brock looks somewhat like Brock. But that's where the money went instead of Controls. And Ukes, I think, is the company that's doing the new one for AEW, or some people from there. I read it yesterday, and that looked pretty exciting, but it didn't look anywhere near where we can talk about it as a finished product.
Right.
But it's a huge part of entertainment right now. And it's weird. I don't know if it mimics the world we're in, but it's like, we know it's fake. I mean, people get hurt. I want to make sure that's clear. Anything can be fake.
Oh yeah, they absolutely hurt themselves.
People don't realize how physically demanding
it's freakish.
I mean, they're basically stunts. Yeah.
Right. That's a good way. Real-time stunts.
Basically.
So what I was bringing up is you have these guys going out there and doing all this crazy stuff, and no game, and maybe it's because of COVID, but it feels like people are getting more into it because it lets them, it's like my mom would watch soap operas, I guess. You could say it is. It's a male soap opera. Though girls love it too. They have female, lead wrestlers. In fact, Ember Moon's a friend of mine, and she's like one of the top wrestlers. So it's like they do have that stuff. It's just the companies don't put any it's not money, it's effort. Like the money's there, but the effort's not.
I get annoyed with that, and like I'm an anime person, I get annoyed with anime games, and I'm just like,
oh, dude,
I get it. You want to milk these franchises because it's easy money, but I'm just like, I'm really confident if like people put proper money behind a wrestling game or proper money and effort behind an anime game, like you're gonna get way more money than you think you will. But it's just
dude,
like
you couldn't believe how bad UFC 4 was. Speaking of oh my god, man. Talk about like another sport where you would why wouldn't you do it well? Because then you can merge it all together. Dude, you could have events in your UFC. You could do, and they were thinking about that, and it was fucking horrendous. It was unacceptable as a release. It was just like looking at it, going like, "What am I seeing?" It was just terrible.
Yeah. The videos of the guys like spasming out, flying all over the place, and like flying off the stage. Yep. Oh man, those were hilarious.
I have 20 top knockouts on my channel. I think it's a #1 video on my channel. It's just me talking to a friend watching knockouts, laughing because they're so dumb. Like they're just, and because they're broken. It's broken as a game. What were you gonna say?
It's just
Silver?
broken, yeah.
You could also make a really fun game on Glow.
The TV show,
female wrestling,
the Netflix TV show.
Not just the Netflix TV show. You could do it on that as well, but like the historical Glow television show, like wrestling. That wrestling, because I mean it's based on the real female wrestling league that got set up.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Gotcha. I haven't watched the show. I think I watched one episode, so I actually didn't know it was a real thing or it was connected. But yeah, you could do all these kind of things.
I think another problem is I remember 3 or 4 years ago, WWE and a few other wrestling groups actually tried to get it active on Twitch. I remember they worked through people like Tangent Gaming and a few other like big names on Twitch. They did like partnerships with like a wrestling federation and all this stuff. And I just remember that like it didn't gain like any traction with gamers. And I'm wondering if a lot of the reason why they're not like putting effort into this is because they're like, we tried, we put money into it. We sunk a lot of money into setting up like a streamer tournament and all this other stuff. And it didn't really go anywhere. I'm wondering if they just were there wasn't enough return. Let's just focus on modern media and still doing shows rather than video games. Because, come to think of it, like, I can't think of a single wrestling game that ever blew up the front page on Twitch because it was like, or even YouTube gaming, because I don't know if it clicks with the current generation of gamers. And it's unfortunate because it could be so good, but I just don't think the demographic support is there. Yeah. Because you look at like Fortnites and Genshin Impacts and stuff, and it's hard to imagine WWE or any sort of like
in
UFC
that
game
same
on the front
light.
Page. Yeah, exactly.
I gotcha. I hadn't even thought about that. That's so true. I'm going to bring up the patron questions because I have a couple. Jonny, you want to bring up the Discord?
Listen,
we'll wrap it up.
Last question about a game like that, Karak. Let me throw you a pitch, and then you can either shoot it down or be super excited, okay? Career mode, WWE, with a business angle, okay? more than like fighting the actual fights is about how you handle your career. So maybe, you know, you decide to take the fall for some fights because, you know, you're playing that character, and then you build some reputation and momentum, and then you become the guy who's winning the fights, you know,
That's
and
in
you
the
have
game.
some agreement, something like, is that,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think that
It's handled so poorly, Johnny, that
Yeah.
it is in the game. So the career mode has, they even have make a belt mode where you can make a belt with like spinners on it, like crappy rims on an SUV. You can do crazy shit in that game. It's that it's so poorly done.
Right.
It's almost like what Reg was saying earlier, where you're saying some open world games are collectathons or whatever. It's almost like
Yes.
that game is that way, where they gave you a bunch of different shit that wasn't connected and said this is your career mode, but it never feels
Right. I
like-
see.
It feels like
as
they're
one
still
piece.
directing you one place.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, it would be a fun wrestling federation simulator where you build a franchise and you get all the individual dudes and you run like, you know, like game
isn't
dev,
that called
si-
manager mode or something?
Yeah,
like that?
manager
like
mode.
like a manager thing would be so good. Like
That's
just a
also on there.
dedicated like game dev tycoon type of game, but with a wrestling federation. That would be so cool.
Looking here
I'll-
in the patron, we got some questions. Wizard of Smoke says, what's your guys' opinion on crossover characters in video games? So I'm assuming this
talking about,
comes
like,
from
Street
Fortnite,
Fighter?
right? Well, didn't Fortnite
Fortnite,
just do
Yes, Aloy.
Aloy? Yeah, they just did Aloy.
Yeah. And they did Master Chief and Rick and Morty and all
Oh
this
no,
stuff
sorry,
lately.
that was not Fortnite. That wasn't that the Genshin
Yeah,
Impact actually?
They put
Sorry.
Oh,
they
was
did
it?
put it in there. Aloy just went somewhere else, but she is in
Yeah.
Fortnite too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the current one was Genshin Impact. She's a new character there.
You also have Smash Brothers.
Smash Bros.
That's
got
a big
everything.
one. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Smash Brother has
That's like the
everything.
king of them at this point, probably.
Yes.
I mean, Rabbids was one of my favorite games of all time, and that's a crossover between Mario and Rabbids.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know what to say other than if it's good, it's good. I don't think I have an
Yep.
issue with crossovers, really. I mean,
I don't.
It's-
As long as it makes sense. As long as
Right.
it makes sense.
So fun thing is Western media and Western games are like a tenth of the crossovers that happen in Japan. Every game in Japan has hundreds of crossovers. Like you'll get Capcom working with Marvel, working with Monster Hunter, working with all these companies over there. And so like Phantasy Star is a great example. They had like 1,000 crossovers and things like that.
interesting.
So
I didn't
honestly,
know that.
the more the better, honestly. Like it's cool to see game stuff in other games, like seeing like Rathalos in Final Fantasy, fighting
Oh, yeah.
Rathalos in Final Fantasy, and then fighting like
So cool.
fighting Behemoth in Monster Hunter. That sort of stuff is dope, and I think there should be way more because then we'll get more stuff like Marvel versus Capcom, and that those games are fantastic. So it's kind of sad not to see it more in
I think-
our Western games.
I think the reason you don't see it more in like the Western part is because like a lot of these publishers don't want to pay those licensing fees. They're like, we ain't trying to do
Yeah.
that. We'll make our own shit. Like we ain't paying you to use your shit. Like
remember when Halo Master Chief showed up in Dead or Alive? So
Yeah.
terrible. I liked Dead or Alive just as a goofy fighting game, and then Master Chief shows up, and you're just like, seriously? So some crossovers, they feel like it's
they're
just
forced.
yeah, if you want to do a fan favorite crossover, like I'm all for that. But if it feels like just the important character at this certain time crossover, like Mario in a fighting game, I'd be like, why? Why is he in there? And I don't mean Smash. I'm saying like Virtual Fighter. That'd be
Yeah,
weird.
I think the earliest crossover I can remember was like the Soul Calibur crossovers. Like
Yoda
'cause
and
those
Darth
were
Vader.
so in your face.
Do you mean Yoda and Darth Vader?
Yeah, like Link. I don't know if it was the same one because they've
Oh,
had a
yeah.
few of them. There was
Remember
one
when
with
people
Link.
got ripped off and got Yoda? An entire platform got Yoda. Nobody fucking wants Yoda compared to Vader.
Everybody wanted Vader, dude.
Everybody wanted Vader. Like, what the fuck? How does that even happen? It's like, hey, you can get
And
Boba
imagine-
Fett or Lando Calrissian. It's like, who the fuck in their right mind is going to choose
Imagine-
Lando? It's not going to happen. No one will choose Lando. It wouldn't
Imagine if
even
you
occur.
do a crossover now. On
Sorry,
like
Lando.
Those type of the crossover
Sorry,
now on those
Lando.
type of fighter games where it's crossplay too. So not only are you not getting that character, they're making
Oh,
you
you're
fight
getting your
that
ass
character.
You're
beat
watching
by him,
somebody.
yeah.
You're getting your ass beat by somebody who is that character. Oh, did I miss a ban? Sorry, guys. I was too busy yakking. Here, we'll hide that user. What do we got? Questions, Johnny? What do we got for questions?
First question from Spooner. says, maybe I'm the only one, but do you guys have any rituals you follow before the release of a big game or a long gaming session? For example, before Pathfinder's release next week, I deep clean the house, tell the wife to leave me alone for a day, always grab my favorite coffee or on release and ensure the temperature in the house is cold so that I can wear sweatpants.
Oh God,
Wow.
he was
A lot of
that's
strategy
some
in there.
detail. That's some detail.
That's a
Yeah.
proper ritual.
That's
yeah.
that's a ritual. Yeah, that's not just like what I thought he was gonna say, which is like I make some cocoa. He's
Yeah,
like,
that's
no,
a
bullet point
stratagem.
3.29. I do this.
Yeah.
He's like, there's some strategy with the cold thing, with the sweatpants. He's
Yeah,
trying to
right.
he's trying to keep the
super-
white
he's-
cold.
You know why? He's
in the room.
overclocking himself. He wants to overclock himself when he's playing a game. He wants those reactions. Admittedly, I like it
Absolutely.
cold. That would be my procedure.
I do too,
open
I do
every
too.
window. I have the AC on anyway. Even if I've had the AC on when it's snowing outside. And I'll just be like, fucking, I want it as cold as humanly possible. That is probably my only procedure. My friends know if you go over to Jeremy's house, never ever show up in shorts or without a jacket, because it is most likely, even if it's 80 outside, it will be 32 in his house. It will be like, that is what I'm. I have an AC in every fucking room. I have 2 in one room.
Oh God.
Yeah, dude, they're like this.
Dude, ACs are great. I absolutely right.
He's got like one of those those buttons they push for the nukes, and he just pushes them once, and they all come on.
Flip it up. It's like, tuk, tuk, boom.
No, it's
Like
probably
it just
the
says
big switch.
icebox. It just says icebox.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like-
we're running,
like
we're
a
running
two-way.
at 65 right now.
That's
Like,
cool. That's actually
Yeah.
that's pretty sweet. I do like it
Hell
cold, so I
yeah.
would say that's my procedure. Do you guys have any that you like? Food? Is it? No. Some people do chores before, like they make sure all their.
I think mine's changed ever since like I became a content creator, because now it's just like if I want to like actually make sure I cover it, I got to make sure I'm hooked up to some kind
Oh,
of capture
right.
card.
Yeah.
So it used to be like, I'd play on a big TV, but now I got to play on a monitor to make sure I can effectively cover the game, because I got to get the gameplay. And that doesn't take away from like the ritual, because I can still, I definitely, one thing I want to make sure I get like some good something good to drink, some propels or something. Make sure they cold, because we don't drink hot stuff in this house. So, but
What do you mean? Like no coffee? You don't do coffee?
No, I don't.
Like,
I don't do coffee.
Yeah,
at
you're
all.
the same as me. It's everything's
Yeah.
chilled
Same.
here. I don't have.
I,
mean,
I
hot
don't mind
cocoa,
iced
maybe.
coffee though.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would drink iced coffee, but I don't want to. I don't. Why imbibe it? Why imbibe a liquid warm? It makes no sense to me. I don't think there's
Yeah.
even a single liquid. The last time I needed a warm liquid, I was fucking sucking from the tit. After that, it needs to all be chilled. It needs to be super
Yeah.
cool.
I guess the only reason I really have is like bargaining with my boss to get those days off so I can play. What do I got to do? I got to go work this week. All right, I'll work this week. Give you that day. Give me this day off. All right, we good. Like
Red, Silver, do you guys have ones?
Nope, not at all.
Not at all. So not even. What if you had work that day? No, because you told me it's like work is work. You're done.
Yeah.
So you don't even have a clean the house or check in with people or like tell people you'll be busy. You're just like game.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's it.
That's pretty flexible, man. Yeah, I don't think I could do that. I have to inform people, or I mean, even though I married and stuff like that, but it's like even feed the dogs, make sure the dogs aren't starving to death or outside in 90-degree heat. But
No dependence,
Right.
so whatever.
no dependence, yeah. So you can just do what you want to do. Silver, do you have any?
No like routines or anything.
I don't
Like, I'll
believe
be-
that. You're a routine person. Nothing? Like
Yeah, but not as a preamble to like playing games. No,
Gotcha.
I mean if there's a context to the situation, like if I have a lot of work, I'll obviously finish the work before I start playing games. But I wouldn't call that a routine.
especially not like
unnecessarily.
the person who asked the question,
No,
who had a bunch.
Yeah,
it's not a ritual.
That was a lot. Does anybody have any others before we
Well,
move on to the next question? Go ahead.
Real quick, I do have a couple. So for me, because I work from home as a software engineer, it's important to like delineate when work is done. And because I'm sitting
Right.
at the same desk, right? So I'm working in the same desk where I game. The way that I do it is I get up and usually I will either have a shower or just switch my clothes out so that I know, it's like the work day is done. And it's almost like my mindset shifts and I take off my engineer hat, right? I hold it up, so to speak, and I relax. And then the recent thing I'm doing as well, there's this, I believe it's originally Danish, like milk chocolate thing called Kokio. It's just a milk chocolate drink, right? And it's fucking amazing. Okay, it's incredible. So that's my favorite gaming drink now, where if I'm going to sit down and game, I usually pick up one of those.
Damn. Well, that's pretty close.
And cold as well, so it's from the fridge. Yeah.
First,
You had
before
some
we
pretty fun
continue and
commercials too.
wrap up,
Kakio.
I just wanted to say thanks to everybody for continuing with us and watching. It's been a blast. What were you going to say? Sorry, Silver.
No, I just said they have some pretty fun commercials too, Kakio. Like their slogan is "This chocolate is milk, it's heavy."
Is this Swedish? UK?
No, it's Danish.
Danish, sorry. I knew there was an ish at the end. I just couldn't tell what it was.
I mean, I could tell you the reviewer back when I used to review things like The Ritual. You'd spend the whole night beforehand questioning whether or not you were ready to do it. And then you'd have an existential crisis leading up to the launch of the game. And then you'd try to get sleep to be able to review it properly the next day. But you'd lay in bed and have anxiety about it. And then you'd hit it in the morning and just be like, well, whatever happens, happens, because I tried. But that's pretty much every big release when you know you got the pressure to review it, right? ACG, I think that's exactly.
I mean,
like,
I think for
that's
most
it.
people it is. I just flatly do not give a fuck. At all.
That's good. That's absolutely good.
That's the only positive I brought in here. No skill, no talent. I didn't bring any
Hell
of that, but
yeah.
I did bring a very high level of I don't give a fuck. So, like, if they give me I mean, there's been times where I look at the hours and I'm like, woo, that's going to be tight. But I don't. The anxiety, do you know where the anxiety comes from me? It comes from me in balancing, like, a stupid thing. Like, I have to do computer work and this review. Like,
Yeah.
connected stuff or technology. You and I have talked about this. You just mentioned it. You're setting up your studio. You had some issues. Dude,
Yep.
people don't get it, and they're gonna it's privileged. So I don't even want to talk about it much. I'll tweet it once or twice and then I'll shut up. But behind the scenes, I was talking to he's a pretty big actor and he follows me. We've been talking on DMs about his job and my job and doing some stuff. And he's like, dude, I grabbed my HDMI. Listen to how it makes me stress out. He's like, he grabbed his HDMI cable and somehow it was a powered one to his camera, which was a powered HDMI. And when they touched, they grounded. And it fucked while he was at production. So it was like, pop, and then it was done. It was gone, that HDMI, because HDMI ports are the weakest link, man. They're like your worst friend. They're the friend you never take anywhere if you're like going camping because they're going to bitch all the time. That's an HDMI port. And those kind of things fucking suck. Or I've been telling these guys in the Discord, I'll be working and a hard drive will die out of the blue with all your stuff on it. And you'll be like, oh my God, we had Penty, who was just starting out his channel. I don't even know if he does videos anymore. He worked so hard on this video, and then he started in Discord going, I think there's something wrong with the hard drive. I think there's something. And I'm like, are you backing it up? And he's, he was smaller, didn't have the time, wasn't backing it up. And it ruined his like desire to continue. That's kind of stuff eats you up, man.
Oh yeah, which is why the first thing, like there's something to be said. Like I learned what not to do by working with a YouTube channel for 8 years, because all that shit that happened to the channel that I was a part of, with the Angry Joe show, I learned right out the door, like that shit is not going to happen to me. I'm going to make absolutely sure. And one of those things was hard drive failure. Like we had a couple of times where we lost drives with like hundreds of terabytes of video footage, or SD cards just randomly stop working. And so it was just the first thing I set up was a mirroring rate, like a RAID's mirroring system, because I was like, if one of 6 hard drives failed, I've got 5 backups or like 4 backups or whatever. And there's something to be said about like Dropbox Sync too. And this goes to anyone in chat that's going to start doing like content. Pay for Dropbox Business, like $20 a month, and turn on auto sync. It will save your life when you lose something, because no matter what, it's on the cloud and there's 30 copies of it. Like absolutely 100% worth doing for anybody starting off a channel.
Yeah, it's that is definitely GOG says loved your rapid fire reviews, man. I'm sure he's talking
thank
to
you very much. I appreciate it.
What else do we got? Do we have any questions before we wrap this up? Any others?
Let's see. I think we have one more question here. This one from Great Cthulhu. Fatan Gentleman. I don't know how to pronounce that first word. As some greeting, I think. Will Windows 11 Direct Storage be a game changer for PC? Playing Tsushima Director's Cut without any loading times is a game changer for me personally, he says, as is Xbox Quick Resume. Will such a feature combined with the versatility of all the PC platform give us some outstanding experiences or even IPs? And if so, what would be possible?
I think if Windows don't care about what their gaming platform looks like, I don't think it matters. I think that Windows was designed for Windows 11, for like the core infrastructure of Windows. I'm not saying that they're not, trying. I'm saying what they're showing me. What they're showing me is it's not high on their priority list. So until they show me they're going to fix that and it's on their priority list, I'm assuming the worst going into Windows 11.
As the big zoom in happens on Dell.
Yeah.
Would everybody else agree on that? That seems fairly safe. That I don't know what changes it'll make. Some devs make.
No, it'll be nice. I mean, but here's the thing: is like SSDs have been to that point for a while. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't know this about like games. There's built-in load time limits. Like a fantastic example was GTA. They intentionally lowered or increased the load time windows on PCs because they didn't want to make consoles look bad. But like, there are straight up games you could play now with like SSD, like Samsung Black Edition SSDs, the new ones that came out, and NVMEs, where if there's no artificial load time limiter, instant. It's 100% instant. NVMEs are a great example of that, and so it's been a capable thing for a while. And so I guess it's just nice that companies are going to start letting PCs actually go where they need to with like no load screens, nothing like that anymore. I think that's going to be really nice.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's too technical for the rest of us. Anything else on there, Jonny?
We have like 3 more questions. Do you want to do
go for them. We got a
lightning round?
Yeah, okay. Lightning round. Let's do it.
So Branocchio says, will 2022...
next question. I'm just joking. Go.
We're skipping. Don't like his name. No, I'm joking. Branocchio, will 2022 have as many delays as 2021? Do you guys think publishers have gotten used to developing in a hybrid format? I don't know what a hybrid format.
Oh, that's a good question.
Like from home and at office.
Home and at office. That's a good question. That? Will we have as many year after?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say. I feel like
I'd say more.
I'm gonna think we're gonna have more.
Yes.
I think it's gonna be.
I think
worse.
a lot of the delays you're seeing now is people that are willing to come out and say they shit delayed. Like you're gonna eventually get to the point where, because I don't think a lot of people understand like how this pandemic has pushed a lot of shit back. And I think this E3 is a prime example of that. Like there's a reason a lot of the shows were underwhelming to a lot of people because they didn't have a lot to show because half their shit was pushed a year to 6 months to a year back. So they didn't have anything tangible to show anyone.
And I mean, plus you got to also consider that like there's a really good chance that there's another huge surge in quarantine of it because there's different variants and all this other stuff and there's the economical impacts and all that. So like it's probably going to be worse next year, absolutely, than it was this year because I think people were trying to still force it out even though they needed more time. And now next year they're going to be more accepting of the fact that it is what it is, rather than let's make sure we get it out. It's going to be like, well, this is the state of the world. So I think next year is going to be worse.
Do we agree it's a silver lining though that delays are becoming a bit more acceptable for like investors and stakeholders?
No,
in a way that
it's not becoming
if the game is not,
it's not. They're still demanding. That's the problem with Halo.
It is. It's still happening.
So it's like I would say it's not a silver lining because Halo might not fail, but might be impacted negatively by that still occurring.
That exact
for these huge companies.
Yeah, that's a good counterexample.
It's definitely
sorry,
an issue. It's definitely an issue. Yeah.
All right, next up from Simage, Italian, isn't it? What are some? It's probably not. Sorry. What are some dead game franchises that you'd like to see return? Personally, he says, I'd love to see a new entry in the Dracan or Massimo series, PS2 era. I knew it was Italian. Is
Dark
Splinter
Cloud
Cell
3.
dead? Oh, yeah.
Dark Cloud 3 I would kill for. Is Splinter Cell dead, man? Dude, I don't
Not
even,
officially.
Not officially, but as its own thing.
Well, I mean,
I
Absolutely.
don't. It feels like it is. So yeah, it's
I
like
mean-
it has,
I mean,
has its own thing.
Sam Fisher still makes cameos and whatnot. So
Exactly, that's what I mean.
I
It's
think
its
they're
own thing.
I
go ahead.
think they're eventually going to bring it back because they keep teasing that character in all these different
Yeah.
games.
Bro,
Sooner or
they
later,
teased it for like 8 years
Yeah,
though.
but
I mean, it's
the
not a
thing is,
tease anymore.
I feel like sooner or later, leadership's going to change, and then people are going to bring the shit back. So
You think that?
I
Like,
don't know.
Really?
yeah, I think that's the only possible way.
I think,
I-
bro.
I
I think you
think
live in a
Splinter
silver
Cell
cloud
is-
of happiness, and I love you for it.
Silver
Yeah.
Cloud.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Reg.
I mean,
Go ahead,
I
Reg.
don't care if it comes back or not. Be like, I love the franchise, but at this point, I've given up on the franchise. But I
Yeah.
do feel like sooner or later, even if it's 5-10 years down the road, someone over there at Ubisoft will be like, "We have run out of shit to do. Hit the Splinter Cell key." You're like,
That's the weirdest discussion.
Nah,
you've
I
had.
think the
Open
Splinter Cell
world,
series
Sam
is,
Fisher.
is in Half-Life 3 territory. It's never gonna happen.
I wouldn't go
Oh.
that far. I don't think it's that far. All right, we ain't
Dude,
going that far.
it's how long? It's been forever. I just don't think
2014.
they don't
It's been
feel
8 years.
there's something about they have a lack of
I think.
confidence in that character driving something, and my assumption is there's a sales thing we're not aware of.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's
They just
The
don't have
characters-
confidence in him.
so much as
Oh,
it's the
it's-
constrictions of the game genre.
It's
I-
also
I-
to
that-
buy the damn franchise at this point. Someone
think-
sell it to someone, man. Like, damn.
No shit.
I think it was Blacklist. Blacklist never got finished. Remember the end of Blacklist? There was like all those other attacks we were waiting for, which were supposed to be DLC, and they just dropped it off the face of the earth. Blacklist just ended, and they never. There was like 1 or 2 DLCs they didn't release for Blacklist, and I think like Blacklist did so poorly that Ubisoft was like, "We're not touching Sam anymore." Like Splinter Cell's a shelved
It's like-
property.
It's
Yeah.
so weird that it just like it feels like I know this is like not the case, but it just feels like someone lost a bet. It's like they lost a bet. And they're like, "We're never making Splinter Cell again. You lost the bet. We ain't doing
Dude,
that shit
remember
ever
their
again."
own voice actor thought they were making another one. Like he was talking on Internet
Yep.
Movie Database about, redoing the voice and, blah, 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 like just 3-4 years ago. And it turned out that there's a VR thing. And then there was also Borderlands, which, again, I don't know why they just have an issue with him. Sam Fisher, maybe it's America, as in, you don't want to have, like, maybe you don't want to focus on that character for them. There's something about Splinter Cell they just have an issue with, man.
Yeah.
They don't feel comfortable. And now that they've stated they're rolling away from doing as many of those games, I don't
Oh,
think
yeah,
Splinter Cell is
that's
going to
true.
be the magic one that steps up, if that makes sense.
Oh no,
Like,
yeah.
It
I
could
agree.
be. I could be wrong, and they could say all these others that we have been working on, we're going to move into Splinter Cell, that's valid. It feels to me like Ubisoft has some question, and with that character, there's something that we just don't get.
I think, to the extent I think there could be, I think we already saw we've seen crossover twice with Ghost Recon.
Yeah.
Like both with Wildlands and with Breakpoint. And I think that could potentially lead to like an open world Splinter Cell game kind of in that vein.
Well, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I don't think Splinter Cell would
I
ever
don't- I
be a
don't-
good open world.
I agree with you, but I think that would be the kind of Splinter Cell game we would
that
be.
we would get.
We would get.
Yeah, it would be some kind of microtransaction thing that they can.
Yeah.
Oh my
play
God.
For a while.
Dude,
Ghost
Phoenix
Recon
came out.
Breakpoint.
Phoenix showed us they can do or very little microtransactions to have a good game. So just
Yeah, that was a great game. That was a great
dude,
game.
Phoenix
I feel-
Rising.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel-
Phoenix Rising was so good.
I feel like I know.
Dude.
I feel like Ubisoft
Magic.
has to go through what EA went through like 5 years ago before they're willing to do anything else. Like if they have to go through the ringer where everyone fucking hates them, and then they start releasing a couple good games, and now people have the good grace of EA again.
The good grace.
Well, I mean,
I
the
don't know
Dead
why
Space.
it sounds so high and mighty. What else do we got, Johnny? Is that it?
Last question from KC. I have a question I haven't heard many people talk about. A lot of game studios. Sorry, Silver. Something?
No, it just I had a dead franchise I wanted to see revived, which was
Oh,
No One
what was
Lives Forever.
No one lives forever. I'm there with you, man. I was gonna say Deus Ex as well.
That's what I was gonna say. That or Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, because see, now we just added 3 more. But yeah, no one lives forever.
Wait, 4. I want Free Space. I want another Free Space.
Oh, dude,
game.
Free Space 2, I still have. Dude,
I want another Free Space game.
Free Space.
can also
I
go
grew
to
up in
Wing
Free
Commander.
Space, Starlancer, which I love. Freelancer, which I still have installed. Just played it like 3 weeks ago with the Crossfire
Microsoft
add-on.
Game Studios. Yep.
Oh, dude, they rocked back when they rocked. Like they actually legitimately rocked.
You guys are bad for my anxiety because now I'm like I want them.
Silver, no one lives forever. And I still don't think that one's come out of IP hell, right? There haven't been any changes to that one in the last couple years.
Sadly.
It's screwed.
Yeah, it's still in purgatory. Yep.
That sucks. Well, Johnny,
what
was the last? Oh, go ahead.
I want another Space Marine game. I want Space
40K?
Marine 2.
The Space Marine 2?
Space Marine.
Everybody does.
I know people. Just one more real quick. I actually would like the coalition to make an army of 2. Like I feel like they would make such a good army of 2. The coalition.
You mean Army of 2, 3?
Yeah.
Army of 2, 3? Because they made.
Well, no, we don't talk about the last one, okay? But I would really like coalition to make one or remake it. And
Coalition,
coalition.
Why?
I don't know. I just feel like that
because of Gears.
That Gears gameplay. Okay. Like if you make that co-op game, you make it just as gory as Gears, just as high detailed as Gears. I think they could really.
As long as you can high five each other and air guitar over a dead body. Dude, I just don't know if politics, that's one thing, is like, it became a little too real a couple times. But I did love, those are good games. I enjoyed them. I even enjoyed the second one. Okay, Johnny, second question.
Here we go.
Nobody can interrupt you. Go ahead.
Last question. Game studios have a bonus depending on how the game sells, or some game studios have a bonus depending on how the game sells. So how's that going to work for Microsoft first-party studios? Are they never going to see a bonus again? I get third-party publishers putting their game on Game Pass, creating hype, hoping people buy it elsewhere. But that won't be the case for Microsoft first-party studios. So what gives?
That's very easy. We don't even need to talk about this. All companies do bonuses differently, and they would have that built into that team if they even do that. Yep. But they would just say, your bonus is this many downloads on Game Pass. Your bonus is this many hours. That's completely normal.
It would work out some deal.
Even third party stated 6, there's so far 6 different types of deal you can do that we know of. And there's probably even more than that. And so that's external. Internal, it's even easier because it's your employee. One question I have for you guys as we wrap this up, do we know if first party devs get bonuses? Has that ever
I haven't
popped
heard
up?
anything.
I've never heard that.
Anything.
They've got to though, right? Because otherwise everybody'd be like, why am I working for... Why am I working here when I can go work at a third-party company?
Yeah, I think it's a given they get some kind of bonuses. It's just the nature of what they are. It's going to vary from
it has to be
from first-party developer to.
It just dawned on me as we're sitting here. I've never once heard of any like Sony.
I'm sure there is some form of.
There's got to be, right? A performance bonus, just like
I heard Gearbox. Gearbox did it for Borderlands. They paid their own employees for their own game. Like
there you go.
A bonus.
That
Gearbox did. Gearbox
just,
absolutely did. Yeah.
We probably just don't see what's going on, but I'm sure.
No, exactly. It's just everything leaks so easy. I would have assumed by now you would have heard it.
And then I never hear of it. Yeah.
I've never heard of Rockstar either. So GTA 5 has sold 800 billion. It sold 3 billion in 3 days. Like some unbelievable amount. That was 17 fucking years ago or whatever. So what are those guys all millionaires? Because at some point you have to look at that and be like, dude, what the fuck's going, like, are they still getting, like the normal employees? I mean, so is your texture artist. Exactly.
They're not. They absolutely aren't. Yeah.
It's pretty rare to get like a cut in that.
That's probably
way.
one time.
Usually the bonus is like a set fee that you get paid out.
Now, if there is one game that did do that, and that was Fall Guys, they're all millionaires now. I know for a fact Fall Guys split the money among the developers.
That's very cool.
The popular
a lot of them did. Yep.
I respect. See, now I got to play that game again just to support that.
They were talking about how they were a small company that did it, and it got split among all the employees, and they all got huge bonuses. Like,
I'm gonna have to go look that up. See, that to me is like, I'm gonna tell you right now, any company can do that. Yes, and so like, remember when 1313 the Star Wars game got canceled, and you got all these people moving around? It's like, I don't know why an EA doesn't look at that too. And because if they had, maybe, you know, Mass Effect Andromeda wouldn't have had fucking misshapen people in it. Like, there's certain things people might have, I don't know. Even if it just means it's my job to tell you that's wrong.
Yeah.
If I'm getting a bonus and the excellence of our game is directly tied into this extra, I'm not saying
More
I want them to
skin
not
is
get
in the
paid.
game.
They should get paid
Yeah.
just as much, but a bonus, then your skin's in the game. You all want it to succeed.
Yeah.
On the other hand, maybe that's what would get microtrans. Maybe they would all say,
Well-
"Hey, the easiest way to have
yeah.
us
Well, I mean,
succeed."
It's
those
a
are
bit
there
of a-
anyway, yeah.
It's a bit of a trade-off, because usually the positions that have access to potentially high bonuses, they also have maybe lower like base pay,
Expectations.
let's say, because it's
Yeah.
kind of
No, that's what I
compounded,
said
right?
back.
Yeah.
When I started, I said they need to get paid identical already. I'm just saying
right,
above
yeah.
that, not to
I
like.
gotcha.
Yeah. You don't want you're talking about a fucking like a bar person where that happens here, where they get paid very little, they live on tips. I don't want that.
Oh, I absolutely am a proponent
all.
of, if a game is expected to make 50 million and it makes 300 million, share it to your devs. I genuinely think that you should throw it out there.
Can you
everyone that worked on
imagine the
game.
amount of people like that's what would work?
It would be
You would be
great.
able to-
It would
yeah.
motivate them more than anything else.
And you would keep developers too. You'd keep your
Yeah,
best
you'd
talent.
Oh
retain
yeah,
them.
because you
Yeah,
can bet your ass
absolutely.
if I was working on a game and it did really. I mean, some would retire, but the ones who. That's why I always tell people, they'll be like, "Why do you make people pay for Patreon?" And I'm like, "Listen, I had it free. That was a disaster. But once you make somebody put a little in, they get a little worth out. And you may lose some employees when they get the money from that bonus, but the people who stay, like to me, that means they're staying for 4 years." Which can be a
Yep.
difficult 4 years,
They're
but they're
lifers at that point.
there. And those are the people that you can be like, these guys want success. I don't know.
And you can look at
It's
from
the sunk cost fallacy, yeah.
you
Yeah.
can look at from aspects like BioWare. Like if they would have been, you know, if EA would have been that, maybe they wouldn't have lost all their good talent up to this point, and then they would still be releasing good games. So,
Dude, let's not end it on BioWare, because BioWare is my favorite company. It used to be my favorite. Let's end it on a positive.
Yeah,
We
let's
can't
talk about
BioWare.
Blizzard. No.
Oh yeah, we can't talk about what's a good positive thing to wrap this up, because I can't leave it on that because it'll depress me. This is my Friday.
Well, we were just talking about the bonuses for developers like Fall Guys. That's super good.
All right, well,
I got another one for you. Humble Bundle bringing a lineup of indies to Game Pass.
that's
Day one.
crazy. At first, I
That
thought
is
they
cool.
bought Humble Bundle for a second. I was like, that is.
I don't know
'Cause
what
the
that
way
means. Can somebody explain it?
It's
real
like a
quick?
PC subscription service, I think, because I'm not too familiar with it.
Humble
but
Bundle is also a publisher.
yeah,
So,
so
their games
are on
coming to
Xbox Game Pass. now.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So-
very cool.
A number of games coming day one to Game Pass on PC and Xbox.
Yeah,
and
that's
a lot
awesome.
of people.
And another cool thing that we didn't mention, Forza Horizon, the next one, getting an editor for.
Yeah, no
creating
shit.
codes.
So let's just
Yeah.
go for 800 hours. Dude, that Forza fucking 6. Yeah, you told me about this.
Oh,
Editor in
yeah.
there. I didn't even know there was going to be it's a track editor too, right? Like you can.
Yeah,
Is it
track
gonna be-
editor. I don't know if that is wishful thinking, but at least a mode editor for creating your own modes.
I'm all for that.
Put some
Forza
bowling pins
Yeah.
and everything.
people can,
Especially a
dude,
game like
Forza's so-
Horizon.
Yeah.
Dude,
that game's
yeah,
never
like,
gonna die.
people really underestimate like how powerful car culture is, and that's one of those things. It's like, I can't wait for it. I know my roommate's way more pumped than I am. I mean, because he is such a car fanatic. So like Forza is going to be great, and I can't wait for it. Anything Forza Horizon I'm in. Like it's
Yes,
just
absolutely.
it's a fantastic game.
And we can finish it on that, because I want to add that the best positive of all this is that a game no one thought would do well was Forza Horizon 1. Because Forza was popular. And people were like, why would we want to play Forza Horizon? It doesn't make any sense. It was at 30 FPS, by the way. It was also a non-arcade speed in the FPS. And people were like, oh, I don't think I'll want to play it. And now Horizon is arguably 2 to 3 times bigger than Motorsport.
Bigger and
I like
better than Motorsport. Yeah.
Big, yeah, fuck you with your better.
It's arguably the Horizon's one of the most popular racing games
Yeah.
ever made. Like,
Yeah. Anyway,
True.
that'll be it for us. If you guys get a chance, check out these channels. Del, you said your channel was up but no videos yet, right?
Yeah, so I created it. It's Control Alt Delrith. I'll give the link to ACG to throw up.
Yes, please
dude,
do.
I didn't
right
even come
now.
up with that name. I tried to find one for 6 months. And then someone in chat was like, Control Alt Delrith. And I'm like,
Pop it into chat right now while we're going.
It
Pop
is.
into
It is one of those things
chat.
that's so obvious that you think, oh, I should have thought of that, but you
Do
but
the
I
same
didn't.
thing, Addict.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, yeah. There'll be. Remember, Just the Tip, the international podcast is what we were called, and somebody's like, Just the Tip, and I was like, oh, it's dirty, but it works. Like it works. Are you guys popping it in chat? I'm not seeing it.
I'm swapping to the YouTube account to do it. So there we go.
Oh, I guess you can do Discord too, obviously.
Oh, there we go. I dropped it.
Real quick, everybody. Hang on. Where'd you drop it?
I dropped it in the YouTube chat. I'll drop it in the Discord too.
So long, Basil.
It works in the YouTube chat? Okay, great. Okay, guys, so here's Dell's channel. Addict, did you send me it?
I put it in the chat. It let me.
Did it?
Yeah.
It let me do it too.
Well, good. I don't know why. You guys are suddenly admins. Oh, shit. Don't delete my stuff. Anyway, I want to say big thanks to these guys. That's been one of the best, most enjoyable podcasts in a long time. Even though we're good on our own, we're spectacular on our own.
We're just the best, let's be honest.
We're a fine dish on our own, but adding two other people, that was an absolute blast. I want to thank them for coming on. That was fucking phenomenal.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, anytime you guys want to come on again, it's always open. It's a blast to talk about games. Fairly positive through the entire thing, which is pretty rare. We got a little negative, but
we were optimistic. I think that's the thing is like optimism and suggestive criticism is not negativity. Yeah.
And I am optimistic overall, actually, of what's coming.
I think
like I'm
to the point where it's like really negative is where like you just linger on it way too long. Like it just takes on a mind of its own.
You mean like if we were to not finish this podcast and ask Silver about, I don't know, some of his issues with Assassin's Creed
World
games
news or something.
World news where he can depress me. Anyway, Ironlords podcast with Super Chat. Great to see you all. Awesome show. Thank you very much. Peace out, everybody. Have a good time. Stay safe. Check out the Patreon if you get a chance. Check out these guys' videos. That is it for us. Have a good one.